A VR game has appeared in the world, bringing together a large number of players online at the same time. Its success lay in creating the perfect virtual reality. A guy named Mose was also a player in this system. The system had 3 ranks for artifacts: common, magical, and rare. Also in the game you get star points, with which you can upgrade your skills. The guy was a slime cleaner. Slimes are simple monsters that can be used to drop artifacts. Currently, the sale of slimes on the market has greatly depreciated due to their large quantity. The guy was offered to try his luck at the lottery, and he spent all his money there. Mosey decided to check the contents of his inventory and exit the game, but suddenly the stone caught fire. He had never seen anything like that before. He was given a rare pendant called the Star of Florin. The second streamer on air was the Republic of Korea's Ji-hyun. Today's topic was new artifacts. The first item today was Anis's ring, which sold for 72 million won. It was recently bought for the largest amount ever at auction. The ring is said to have dropped from the northern region boss, and its effect is particularly notable: restoring health. Healing is considered the rarest of all known magical abilities. This artifact has a 4th-class value, the highest to date, and was sold for a record amount. Anis's ring surpassed even the speed ring, which was worth 63 million won, and became the most valuable artifact so far. The second item has a top effect: the Langerous Cavalcade Necklace, which grants a 3-fold increase in strength. Purchased for 39 million won, it only confirmed the popularity of its effect. The guy watching the broadcast always thought that the world of such prices was extremely far from him, or was until yesterday evening. Rare artifacts are considered trash in other games because there are better items out there. But due to a recently released scheme, everything has become the opposite. The most valuable things at auctions are still magical. It turns out that this necklace could become the first rare artifact in the game. Mose was very happy because he realized that he had hit the jackpot. He fell on his knees and thanked the star for coming to him from heaven. The guy wondered how much this artifact was worth. The value of the effects of the Florin star is much higher than that of the magical ones. In addition, the most popular health recovery effect is equal to 17.7 units per second. Its price will definitely exceed 100 million won, or even 10 or even 20 billion. Now the guy won't have to worry about paying for college. He will also be able to buy not only a nice apartment, but perhaps even a car. Mose immediately went to look for the auction. But before he could press it, he realized that he wanted to test the star. They say that even 3 additional star points of power make a player of a completely different level. Before, he couldn't even kill a slime properly. Will he be able to use it to become a high-level player? Thinking about everything he had been through, someone else would have sold her for sure. Couldn't he treat himself a little for the first time in 2 months? And besides, he will always have time to put the star up for auction. Mose calmly put the pendant on his neck. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain. This is how the pain of going up 18 levels felt. Mose didn't understand why it was necessary to simulate the pain so realistically. It was just a game. It probably won't get any easier when you have to remove the suspension. The boy tried out his new powers and easily bent a coin in half with 2 fingers. Now it's clear why everyone is going so crazy about artifacts. How about checking out the artifact in action? From the center of the continent, you can easily reach any region. Finding allies for the game will not be difficult because there are plenty of players here. After all, it is in the center that the most popular city among players is located. It is called Aspirasan. Players in luxurious clothes walked around the city. As the guy expected, everyone here was rich. Did he think a little of himself when he came here? Besides the star, all he had was an old sword. Finding a team with such equipment would be difficult. Mosey walked up to the bulletin board, hoping there would be solo quests. Suddenly, someone called him. Turning around, he saw a girl archer, if she was not mistaken. Then Mose needed a team. Mose was a little nervous because he didn't expect anyone to take him in. The girl took his hand and said that she had a spot in her squad and offered to be with them. The boys stood near the wall and wondered where Sharon had gone. One of them suggested waiting a little longer. Finally, the girl returned and brought with her a new team member. One man was surprised that the guy had beginner's equipment and his sword was about to break. He asked Sharon if she was sure of her choice, since she had brought a complete newbie. Looks can be deceiving. The guy is the strongest player that was on the square. When the girl saw the guy for the first time, she was also surprised. But the boy was clearly stronger than everyone around him. Silborn approached them and asked if they were ready. Silborn was the head of the Silver Guild and also a famous magician. They say he has as many as 5 magical artifacts. Mose couldn't believe he would be fighting side by side with him. Silburn caught the attention of all the players. He thanked them for deciding to join the troll hunt, led by the Silver Guild. Hearing this, Mose was very surprised and could not imagine hunting a troll. Troll is one of the low-level monsters, but it has an aggressive nature and high regeneration ability. A creature with terrifying strength, capable of crushing a boulder with one hand, such an opponent should not be underestimated. Mose doubted whether he could handle such a mission. One of the guys told the guy that these beasts are very vicious, so it is better not to run into their eyes because they will chase him until they finish him off. They also move in groups. Another man said that fire and magic terrified them and that trolls ran relatively slowly. But if Mose had hunted before, such prey would seem easy to him. The most important thing was that they would make money from it. Sharon explained that whatever he could get from the troll was quite expensive. For example, its blood is used to make high-grade potions. There is also a demand for troll skin and bones. These parts are used to make cool equipment. Because of this, these monsters are usually hunted by large guilds. This team is very lucky to be involved in this at all. The rumors were true that the Silver Guild was indeed recruiting new members, which is why everyone was so tense. A guy from their team said that a couple of drops of troll blood would be enough for him, because at least that way he could pay for his studies. Guile was also a student and earned his tuition by playing. Mose and Guile were brothers in misfortune, since he also came here because of his studies. Sharon would like to go back to university because she had problems at work again. A man called everyone and asked for a little attention. He told them to come closer so he could tell them the whole plan. Everyone who was there came closer. Silburn asked to unfold his cards. He began his speech and explained that over the past few days, members of the Silver Guild had risked their lives to set traps for the troll in several places. First, they must successively lure the troll into traps set in its path. When he gets to the last one, they will all attack him together and the mission will be completed. Since humans move much faster than trolls, following the plan, they will be able to catch one of them quickly and without risk. The famous guild had everything planned out as expected. Mosey wanted to enjoy his new abilities, but it looked like he wouldn't be fighting anyone one-on-one. Gale wasn't sure it was fair, but there was nothing they could do to change it. The guy noticed that there was not a single member of the Silver Guild in the team that was luring the troll. The man assumed that they would all most likely attack in the vanguard. They were probably trying to cut down participation points, since they were given more for killing. Sharon believed that they should at least be grateful for the fact that they called them, because suddenly, something magical would happen. Mosey realized that just because they were on a team didn't mean they would fight with everyone else. Rewards are distributed automatically depending on the number of participation points. 3 players entered the third trap area. Once they find the troll, these guys will meet him and immediately lure him into a trap. One of the guys suggested that when the guild accepts them, they will probably also do nothing but go hunting. The guy turned to his friend and warned him to watch his step. But when they turned around, they saw something terrible. A huge troll grabbed their comrade by the head. Soon the rest of the trolls appeared. There were so many of them that the 2 of them could not have handled them. The boys started running as fast as they could. They followed them out of the forest and brought the trolls out into the clearing. The players couldn't figure out where the trap was. His friend said it was ahead, between the trees. In front stood the guild players who were already waiting for them. Finally, they almost reached the trap. One of them wanted to take revenge on these trolls by attacking them with a sword. Suddenly, he realized that he was up to his ears in a puddle of oil. He looked up to see the troll had badly mauled his partner. The guy screamed to be pulled out and helped, but no one cared. Silburn raised his staff and it glowed. He directed all his power at this guy and there was a big explosion. The man smiled slyly because he said that it would be a quick and safe hunt. Meanwhile, the team that Mose was on was in another location and was fighting a black rock troll. The guys were walking and the man said that he could handle the troll alone. This monster's attack was small, and that's why it wouldn't be able to harm him. Sharan said that in that case, when they met, Uncle would fight the troll, and they would run away, and then they would tell everyone that he died a heroic death. Someone was watching their conversation from the mountain. Mose noticed this, but when he turned around, he saw nothing. Sharon asked what was wrong. The guy pointed to the mountainside and said there was someone there. The girl raised her head and was horrified. A huge troll landed in front of them. He immediately raised his hand to strike. Luckily, their uncle protected them with his shield. The troll struck a second time, and the attack caused the man to fall. It was the first time Mose saw a troll in real life. He was shocked, because they were told something different. Inside, everything went cold with fear. The guy felt an incomprehensible thirst for blood. He already thought that he was about to die. Sheeran attacked the troll with her bow. The girl shouted to her uncle to be careful. The man rose from his knees and attacked the troll with his shield. Shield bash hits the target and pushes them back. The attack was so powerful that the troll was thrown into the bushes. This huge monster grabbed the trees with his hands, trying to get up. The man was perplexed because his blow was at full force, but it did not cause any damage. Sheeran noted that arrows were also useless in battle. Mose suggested luring him into a trap, as they said it would be easy given the troll's slowness. But this troll seems to be unusual. Judging by its size and appearance, it looks more like a crossboss. Besides, this troll came to them only one. Usually trolls move in groups of 4. Mose asked if they could kill him. Even if Guile removes his regeneration, his strength and defense level are still high. Then there is only one thing left to do. They must hold off the troll until the Silver Guild arrives. Each time the troll dealt new blows. The girl tried her best to attack him with arrows. She was very annoyed that her blows did not cause any damage. The man shouted at Sheeran to step back while Mose distracted the troll from behind. Suddenly, the guy realized that he didn't know what he was doing here at all. These guys have been playing together for a long time and work well as a team. These are the people who really enjoy the scheme. And compared to them, Mose considered himself a simple fool, living in the hope of hitting the jackpot and killing slimes day after day for 2 months. He really wanted to have a real adventure just like this. Suddenly, someone called out to him, and raising his head up, he saw how a troll wanted to attack him with his bat. The guy knew he was finished, but suddenly a man appeared. He tried to cover the guy with a shield. The man shouted for Mose to finally get his act together. Will someone like him be able to change if he started a little later than the others? The guy realized that he would do it right now and was about to strike with his sword. After hitting the troll's hand with the weapon, the sword broke due to 0 durability. Then came a blow that pushed the guy back quite far. Mose fell to the ground with a thud. His leather gauntlets were broken and his health was less than 20%. Sheeran shouted to Guile that the monster was approaching and that they needed to step aside. But it was too late, and the troll hit the guy. Luckily, he managed to land. This troll can take out any of them with 1 blow. The girl ordered to move away so that the monster would not progress so much. The man heard her, but began to attack with his shield. The troll tore the tree out by the roots and threw it at the man. The man struck the troll's leg with his shield with great force. He screamed loudly in pain and became enraged. Mose came to and was surprised that he was still alive. His artifact restored his stamina. This is what the regeneration effect that everyone dreams of looks like. The troll continued to hit the man with the tree trunk. Uncle somehow managed to contain his power. Sheeran fired her bow. This blow hit the troll straight in the eye. The monster grabbed his head and growled loudly. The man's strength was running out. He couldn't believe that everything would end this way. Mose jumped up and began to attack. Due to the high acceleration, the guy jumped on the monster. This allowed Mose to push the troll away. Gale didn't understand what had happened and turned around to see a backhand throw. Mosey, looking at the monster, could not believe that such a giant could be knocked down. The guy turned to his partner and asked if he was okay. A light appeared around the uncle's body, which signified regeneration. This was also one of the pendant's abilities, restoring the health of partners. The man came to his senses and was surprised that his life bar was full. Sheeran asked Mose what kind of restoration of the partner's health was being discussed. The man, looking at the guy, realized that he did not look like a simple newbie. The monster gradually began to come to his senses and get up. The girl warned that this time she would aim for the back of the head. The man threw the guy a 2-handed steel sword and said that he was the one who should finish this fight. Taking the sword in his hands, Mose rushed to attack. The guy was about to deliver the finishing blow. Silborn looked through his inventory, pleased to see that there was not a single empty slot. If this continues, they will probably be able to earn more than 100 million won in just 10 minutes. According to the rules, there must be at least 120 people hunting the troll, and the Silver Guild consists of 40 players. They had to look for 80 others on the side, but he figured out how to profit from this. To add credibility, Silborn recruited several experienced players. The author's reward distribution system is based on the contribution of quest participants to its completion. Quest rewards will be distributed according to the difficulty of the task completed by the player. So Silborn would get the highest percentage of participation by killing all the trolls. He knew that the deception would cause rumors to spread. If his reputation was damaged, he would simply retreat into the shadows for a while until things died down. Then he would be altruistic for a while and let the past go as if it had never happened. Suddenly, the guys from the Silver Guild saw a message about the completion of the quest, and I went. Silborn didn't understand what was happening. All players received messages with information about the quest. The group with the highest percentage of participation was group number 13. Silborn was shocked that it was not him. The swordsman received a new title of One-Handed. The player with the highest contribution to the team's healing was Mose, and for this he received a special award. Silborn saw the seriously injured guild members around him and didn't understand what was happening. He had no mana or health. Silborn was trying to get to this team number 13, who had taken credit for winning the quest. He had sent his team earlier, ordering them to capture these players. The unknown people finally found this man. They were interested in seeing a top player run away like a rat. Silborn didn't understand what the Dark Guild was doing here and what they wanted from him. As if he didn't know. The man wasn't going to live anyway, so he should give up now. Silborn knew he was at a disadvantage now. There were many people in the square of the beautiful city of Aspergen. Mose bought some goods at the market. He also wanted to put the items up for auction and threw a ring on the table. Hours earlier, the team watched as the boy opened the core. Uncle guessed that it was probably different from the usual ones because it was the boss. The core is an item that can be obtained after killing a monster, something like a treasure chest. The type of core depends on the monster. The stronger the monster, the bigger it is, and the higher the chance of getting a good reward. The guy didn't think that he would one day see such a big core. The girl shouted to Mose and said that he was the one who had to open the core. Everyone agreed with this, since the guy had the highest percentage of participation. Eventually, the guy came closer and was ready to open it. The team members stood in anticipation of the reward. Touching the core, it brightly illuminated everything around. Mose received a large number of all sorts of ingredients and things. Those slime hunting days pale in comparison. He also received a mountain ring of argon power, which could be put up for auction, with a starting price of 80 gold. The guy wondered if this was a normal starting price because in real money it was 8 million won. It was difficult for him to navigate because the cost can vary greatly depending on the type and effects of the artifact, and lately the prices have been getting lower and lower. Mose could not make such a difficult decision for a long time, but he broke down and realized that the main thing was to get to the top and press the button to put it up for auction. In the evening, he was still wondering whether he had bet too little, but it was too late, so there was no point in regretting now, but at least he wouldn't be accused of being greedy compared to everything else. That ring added +1 to the damage, so 80 gold was fine. Mose was very tired from such a hard day and plopped down on the bed. So much had happened that day. He had killed a troll himself in his first group quest. I also received a nice prize as a reward, and on top of that, I made my first friends in the game. If he hadn't won the Florentine Star in that lottery, he wouldn't have all this. Suddenly, the guy took off his VR glasses and realized that he had gotten carried away. His phone was vibrating non-stop from messages. He received a message from his mother, who asked how he was eating and also informed him that she had sent him some money. But she probably shouldn't have done this because tomorrow, the guy will receive his salary from his part-time job. But then charges started coming from the card for internet and transport card payments. He wasn't even given the chance to enjoy the moment. He received another message on his phone. Suddenly, this notification came as a great shock to him. Seeing the transfer of 38,001, he realized that his future would be linked to the scheme. Mose visited the scheme bank. Having received the money for the ring, he began to prepare for more serious matters. To begin with, he took another semester off from college. I also bought powder in a specialized store for players of the scheme. The powder is a nutritional supplement to restore and maintain the balance of nutrients in the players' bodies. This is quite an important thing if you play for a long time without a break. When you eat on the plan, you get this supplement through via points. All the necessary microelements enter the blood through the skin of the face. This is a real find for gamers, because this way you don't have to be distracted from the game and waste time on cooking. Although, of course, it's better to go out into the real world and eat normally. While sitting in the system's community, he saw his name in the top spot in popular queries, as well as queries about Silborn. He didn't immediately understand what was happening, and the guy couldn't believe that Silborn was killed. Now this player was of interest to almost everyone. He was invited to join guilds. And some, on the contrary, wanted to finish off the guy and challenged him to fights. He realized that things wouldn't go this way and started running. Mose ran home, throwing his shoes around in his haste. If nothing changes, his freedom and future in the game will go down the drain, so the guy immediately put on VR glasses. Now it was time for him to get out of Aspergen. The last time he looked at this city, he understood that this was a chance in a million, and he could not miss it. Now he needed to get away from everyone. Entering the forge, Mose was given equipment made from the hide of a black rock troll. It was the first time in 20 years that the blacksmith had seen such a piece of work. This equipment would be perfect for a wanderer like him. The guy thanked the blacksmith for his work, and he was only pleased to work with such a wonderful material. And now that very important moment had arrived, or so it seemed to him. The guy sat down near the tree and realized that he was really lost. Suddenly he realized that air was coming out from under the ground. He pressed on that spot with his hand and light began to come out of it. The cave in the mountains suddenly opened. He received a notification that he was the first to open this Blackroot dungeon. Air was escaping from inside, and everything around was covered in dust. Entering inside, everything around was in pitch darkness. Mose took out the shining bell-sect stone from his inventory. Now with its help, the guy could light his way. The further he went, the more terrible the cave became. Suddenly he saw an altar in front of him. It was written on the stone that it was impossible to convey the full depth of hatred for the one who imprisoned them. Dark forces ambushed their army. The smell of rotten blood filled the air. Caught off guard, they lost their lives and found themselves bound to a dark curse, never to find the peace of a dignified death. Suddenly, the guy noticed something and turned around. Behind him stood a whole crowd of skeletons, dressed in different armor. Mose knew there was some kind of trouble coming, but he didn't expect there to be so many of them. The guy could defeat several skeletons with one swing, but each time they advanced more and more. Mose knew it wouldn't be easy, and he saw no end in sight for these creatures. The guy didn't belong to the combat class, and he didn't really know how to use a sword, but he was quite capable of withstanding such a crowd of skeletons. Suddenly, they all rushed at Mose at once. A whole crowd of skeletons held the poor guy down. Suddenly, light began to emanate from inside this mountain. Using the power was like a supernova explosion. It would not have been possible to do so without the support of things on his level. This is what the union of a rare artifact with magical armor and weapons means. It's finally time to end the battle. Soon, bones and skulls were strewn around him. Suddenly, the guy started receiving messages about level increases. He's only chopped up a couple of skeletons and already leveled up twice. Of course, this made Mose very happy, because now his level was higher than 10. Suddenly, he heard a sound behind him. But when he turned around, he saw no one. But he knew for sure that he was not imagining things. Mose decided to go further and figure out what it was. Passing through a small crack, he felt an unbearable stench. These were the dead bodies of previous travelers. In this passage, there was a staircase leading upward. The guy, trying to contain himself, moved further. At the top, he saw another slab with inscriptions. He was very interested in what was written on this one. It was about how someone hated someone, and also hated the Imperial Army. They burned their village down using their own fuel. They also mercilessly killed his entire family. The scoundrels, hiding their faces, attacked silently, like ghosts. They were cowardly deserters who obeyed the orders of the Emperor. They destroyed their homes, grinning devilishly. And that is why the shaman Morital curses them. Therefore, they will never leave this place. They will wander here in torment and suffering forever, even after death, when only bones remain of them. Mose noticed that the writing here was different from the previous ones. He thought about the Imperial Army that had plundered the village, killed the inhabitants, and burned it. Suddenly, he received a message offering him a quest to destroy the leader of the deserters, Giratina, who was cursed by Mortal. The guy uttered the curse words, and suddenly something started to happen. Out of nowhere, a skeleton began to come together piece by piece. A few moments later, a skeleton in armor was standing in front of him, screaming for everything to burn with hellfire. And how dare that guy desecrate the skeleton with his pathetic words? Mose was shaking all over with fear and panic. The skeleton asked the boy if he had freed him by uttering the words of the curse. Mose agreed with this and said that this skeleton should answer for the murder of innocents and the destruction of the village. Having strong armor, the monster struck the guy, from which he was unable to defend himself. Mose flew to the side and crashed into the wall with a crash. Did the boy really dare to judge the actions of this monster? The skeleton promised that he would destroy this impudent boy. Each location boss has its own unique name. Monsters in the scheme are divided into location bosses and regular monsters, and due to the fact that bosses are stronger than regular mobs of the same level, putting them in the same row is simply unthinkable. And even knowing this, Mose couldn't imagine that the battles with the first ones would be so difficult. The guy's health was now less than 20%. This time the fight promises to be difficult. The good thing about this skill was that he could heal himself while he was still holding on. The guy's entire body was aching with pain, but the regeneration worked almost instantly thanks to the effects of the Florin Star and his new armor. The skeleton became furious and asked what kind of dark magic his opponent was using. The monster was already ready to strike again with his fist. Mose rushed to attack. He had to do it faster before the skeleton caught up with him. And immediately after that, a counterattack followed. The skeleton fell to the floor from such enormous force. The incredible strength, health, and agility provided by Mose's gear allow him to move however he wants, allowing him to take on even the boss. That's what it means to have good stuff in the scheme. With that armor set, he can win. Even though the skeleton's body was cursed, he didn't want to let himself fall at the hands of some newbie. The monster promised to kill the guy and free himself from the curse. Mose rushed forward again with great inspiration. The skeleton wanted to show him what the difference between classes meant and activate his most powerful ability. The monster made the release of the restraining seal. Suddenly, the boss named Giratina's level increased to 35. With the help of his new power, the skeleton attacked the guy, striking him. Even Mose's armor didn't help him, and his body was bleeding. The monster was already about to strike again and began to attack. The blow landed on Mose's back. The player flew away with great force. He crashed into the cave wall, his whole body aching with pain. The monster thought that he couldn't defeat the enemy in one go because of his magic. But he had no more reason to swing his sword, and he was going to put an end to this player's worthless life. Mose's body was pierced by hellish pain, and if he hadn't been wearing this armor, he would have died 20 times over. But now he is not who he was before. Now he has 300 units of health, and the recovery is more than 100 units every couple of seconds. As long as he doesn't die, he will always have a few seconds to fully restore his health. It was hard to imagine that a pendant from a lottery would play such a big role in his future. Now Mose's health has been fully restored. The skeleton was surprised and asked if the boy could withstand a blow from his sword. Mose took his chance and was back in action. Now the player was determined to destroy the skeleton, avenging all the dead villagers. This made the boss very angry and he was about to strike again. Mose tried to hold him back with his small sword. The strength of this skeleton was incredible. Suddenly, the boy dodged deftly because he could no longer withstand his strength. He jumped up, pretending that he was going to attack now and was going to wait for the right moment. When I hit my leg, the bone cracked. So far, everything was going well and there was no way to lose momentum. Mose followed with a few more blows. The skeleton was still trying to defend itself. With one swing, the boy split the hand with which the monster held the sword. Then he began to attack again so that he would not have time to come to his senses. A few moments later, the boss fell to the floor. The sharp tip of a sword appeared in front of his face. This was the end of Giratina's life. The monster couldn't believe that this was even possible. This evil spirit was nothing more than a pathetic murderer who dishonored the empire. Giratina thought he had no idea what it meant to be a warrior, but he himself attacked a peaceful village where he killed all living things. Can this be considered the act of a warrior? The war was then in full swing, and their army had been cut off from supplies, there was nothing to eat, and they were forced to ask for help from the inhabitants of the village they were defending. But they stubbornly saw us only as enemies and even decided to attack. The residents did not show an ounce of gratitude for the efforts they made to protect them. Those little bugs have no honor to try to fight the Imperial Army after all they've done for them. Mose asked again if they did it just because they were hungry. If the boss didn't have Mortal's curse, it would have been such a wonderful memory. Earlier, the skeleton asked the boy if he knew what it was like to be a warrior. He should believe him, because he knows a lot more about it than someone like him. The guy served for about 2 years. They swore an oath of soldiers in front of the people and the nation. They were the army of the Republic of Korea. The guy struck again in anger. The skeleton's body was now destroyed, and Mose turned around and walked away, unwavering. He realized that he had just said complete nonsense about the damned soldier. He started receiving notifications about level increases. He rose again, this time by 6 levels. He also received a new achievement. 2 units were added to all stats. Suddenly, from behind, he noticed something. It was a large crimson-colored core. It was clearly different from anything he had seen before. When I touched it, the light blinded everything around. In a moment, everything nearby was filled with various weapons, gold, and valuable gifts. It was necessary to quickly put all this wealth into my inventory. He also suddenly noticed something unusual. This was what Giratina was holding in his hands. The information about this weapon stated that it was unique. The highest known rank was rare. If the Sharma sword is unique, then even in the future it is unlikely that anything similar to it will be found. It was this player who was the first in the history of the game to receive a rare artifact that was unique. Suddenly the sword began to dissolve, and soon there was nothing left in the hand. The boy received his first skill. He could summon a sword or order it to disappear by saying its name. Mose said the name of the sword again and it worked. The sword fit comfortably in the hand and had an incredibly perfect weight. He immediately wanted to try it out in a real battle. The guy noticed that he had stepped on something. Taking it in his hands, he found out that it was the seal of the defeated knight. It also had a unique rarity. He needed to fulfill the necessary conditions to start the secret quest. At all costs, Mose wanted to get started on the quest as quickly as possible. He was already thinking about how much he could sell all these awards for. It would probably cost around 500 gold if he didn't sell them for too little. From above, he saw the rays of the sun and realized that it was already dawn. He needed to take his things to the nearest village. With that kind of money, he can forget about poverty for a while. Mose arrived in the city of Arts, Toiko. Two guys were flipping through the auction list and were surprised by the artifacts for sale. The price of the skill book rose very quickly. People realized that all these things were put up by one player. Everyone saw that it was the same Mose who was with Silborn during the troll hunt. The boy headed to the Aransha Central Trade Committee, Toiko branch. In front of him on the table lay a large number of heavy, expensive gold bars. The man working there said that Mose made 8,726 gold pieces at the auction. The worker repeated it again because the guy couldn't believe his ears. He should be happy, but he still doesn't believe it's real. He made 80 million won in that dungeon. Mose pointed to the coins lying near the gold bars and asked what they were. The man explained that it was Ormacon's token. One such token is equivalent to 1,000 gold coins. Upon closer inspection, one could see the dragon's seal on the token. It was of magical rarity. The worker was quick to warn the boy to be vigilant for a while. This was justified by the fact that now everyone in the city would want to know who this Mose was. A dark guild has formed in the game, robbing and killing both players and NPCs. Mose really should be careful. In the city, people were discussing among themselves how much money this guy got from the auction. Mose overheard two guys talking while hiding in a dark cloak. These guys wanted to rob Mose if they met him. It seemed like it was a lot more serious than he thought. The guy needs to lay low now, but the stealth effect of this hood will soon wear off, and he needs to come up with something better. Suddenly, an idea came to him. Mose needs armor that completely covers both his body and face. It also needs to be durable. Entering the workshop, the guy asked to make armor with full camouflage. The master replied that it would cost him a pretty penny, but Mose replied that he didn't care about money. The master took out a shining suit of armor. It looked very reliable. Mose would hardly be recognized if he equipped himself with this. The master made this armor for the Kingsmith competition a long time ago. The man announced the price of the armor at 200 gold. The master already thought that the boy would not be able to pay because this set was his best work, with which he won the competition. To his surprise, a large number of gold coins flew onto the table. Mose agreed to purchase the armor, much to the master's surprise. He also clarified that he was taking the entire set. The elf walked through the dark alleys of the city. She met a guy named Veyron who asked if she was on a mission again. Veyron offered to help her if she wanted it. Kea replied that he would be a burden, considering the task had taken months of preparation. The guy said that she was not so simple for a mongrel. The girl immediately rushed to attack. A second later, she had already put a sharp blade to Veyron's throat. The girl was, as always, extremely fast. The guy told her to calm down if she didn't want to cut a colleague on duty. The girl hid her sword and told her to think before opening her mouth next time. Kea took a small stone and threw it on the ground. A portal to another place opened in front of her. A moment later, the girl disappeared and the portal closed. The guy smiled, calling her an impudent mongrel. Veyron opened the map and looked for something on it. He wanted to find the Star of Florin. Mose was riding in a carriage with some man. The man thanked the guy for saving him, otherwise he would have been eaten by scary monsters, but he shouldn't have thanked him, because the guy also agreed to give Mose a ride, so they were even. The man said that he was immensely grateful to him. While the guys were driving, they discussed how the student decided to earn money for his education. And now he has these problems. Surely the boy's parents were proud of such an independent son. Mose became interested in how his uncle got into this scheme. It was quite a long story. He was fired from the company, after which he opened his own restaurant with chicken dishes, but soon it went bankrupt. Then he heard about the scheme. It seemed like a good way to make money and decided to try it. Working on delivery is a responsible business, so everything would go to hell if that monster ate him. The boy had no specific destination in mind, and he didn't want to make any plans once he got to Silver Valley. The man told the boy to let him know when he decided where he was going, and he would take him to the ends of the earth. Mose said it was okay, and he didn't want to impose. The man laughed and said that there was no need to worry because this guy was like a bodyguard to him. They finally reached their destination and agreed to meet in the center of Silver Valley near the fountain. Mose received a warning that his armor needed repairs. That's when the guy decided to do this first. While the armor was being repaired in the workshop, the guy thought about how cool it was that he got the Giratina seal. He was wondering what the conditions were for completing the hidden quest. He thought about it all the time, but it was no use. He had to meet his uncle and the ferryman first, and then plan his next move. Finally, the armor was ready. When Mose went outside, he saw a large crowd of people gathered. Ahead, he saw 3 guys kicking another. People looked at this with horror and were surprised at the cruelty of the Valley clan because this guy simply delayed the delivery. It was the same carrier who helped Mose. The guy was ready to strike again, but his fist was stopped by someone's hand. Turning around, he saw a man in armor and asked what he was doing. Mose said that sometimes something happens on the road and people are late. Does he think it's right to beat them up for that? The offender pulled his hand back and asked if he knew who he was. The guy said that everyone in the house must obey him, and if someone spoils his mood, he will use force. Was such a small thing enough for him to hit a person? The guy wanted to hit Mose, but he missed. Moose hit back much harder. That guy flew into the wall of the house with a loud bang. People were even more horrified and asked how their uncle was feeling. The man raised his head and saw the guy he had given him a lift. People couldn't believe that the guy had just hit the heir of the Valley clan. While Mose was helping his uncle come to his senses, someone approached them. The small, plump man shouted that he was the great Morik of the valley and how dare he hit his son. He sent his guard to avenge his son. The guard walked towards the guy, drawing his sword. He promised to deal with him, swearing on the name of the Knight of the Silver Valley. Mose, speaking the name of the sword, summoned it and stopped the guard's blow. The man was surprised because a sword appeared out of nowhere. Using a little force, he threw the knight back towards the heir of the Silver Valley. It fell right on the heir's face. Morik was shocked that his guard couldn't defeat this pathetic guy. He ordered Python to get up immediately and go into battle. Mose pointed his sword at the valley representative and said it was his turn now. One girl suggested that Mose's armor was from the Order of the 14 Knights. The residents were glad that someone had finally come who could help them. People complained about what the ruler of this valley was doing. Mose had no idea who the 14 Knights were. The guy turned to Morik and asked if everything the residents said was true. The man hesitated and became very worried. He said that it was only partly, and he just wanted to make provisions in case of famine. Mose suggested that we come to his house and see for ourselves. Morik fell to his knees and began to ask for forgiveness for the terrible crime. Since he admitted his crimes, the guy will not take his life, but he will compensate all the victims. The people thanked their savior for punishing this scoundrel. Mose's fame level rose by almost 3,000 points thanks to rumors. The hidden quest was completed and a new one was started. This message was really unexpected. The guy needed to go to the city of Fallup, which is located on the edge of the continent. The residents were surprised by the knight's engraved sword, where they had not seen people with such a weapon for a long time. 2 robed men stood on a rock, watching what was happening in the square. One of them asked if the guy in armor should be arrested because he was pretending to be one of them. But has his friend forgotten God's prophecy that one day a certain wanderer will make this world a better place? And as he could already notice, thanks to this guy, they had less work. Well, that was true, but who was he? The guy wasn't sure, but he thought it was the same Mose everyone was talking about. The 2 thought that they should definitely follow him. The next place Mose would go to was the city of Fallup. This city was the border of the continent. The guy was lying near the city employment office. He didn't understand anything, and this had been going on for days. Unlike regular players, secret classes have hidden powers or knowledge, but they are rare. These classes are so rare that nothing much is known about them in the schematic community yet. So even the bureau employee couldn't help the guy. It looks like he'll have to search the entire city himself. Suddenly, he noticed an elf man with long hair and pointy ears. He didn't think he would meet such a race here. This city is full of surprises. Suddenly, a man ran past and touched Mose. He shouted at him to watch where he was going. It was strange because he ran into him himself. Mose wished him to get into a lot of trouble. A second later, there was an explosion at the end of the street. This man flew into the wall himself and then tried to cough up the dust. Turning his head, he saw that the bag of coins had fallen apart. Another guy came up to him and said that he was a dirty swindler. It was Veyron. Looks like this guy stole his money. Mose looked at Veyron's finger and saw a familiar ring. The thief took a small knife out of his jacket. He tried to attack Veyron. He failed, and the guy took revenge on him for what he had done by attacking him with a sword. Everyone looked at this spectacle in horror. Veyron realized that he had wasted his time on him. Mose didn't even notice them due to the speed of his movements. He became curious about who this player was. A message has arrived about completing a hidden quest. A moment later, a new hidden quest was launched. You had to talk to a man in a black robe. Mose watched the guy leave. Veyron walked along a dark alley in the city in the evening. Mose tried to chase him. He just assumed then, since he saw everything from afar, but there is no doubt. His ring is exactly like Giratina's. Giratina said he was a swordsman who knew that killing him would lead the guy here. Perhaps fortune was indeed on his side. Suddenly Mose realized that the boy was missing. While he was wondering where he had gone, Veyron came up behind him and grabbed Mose by the throat. The guy dragged his pursuer into the darkness. He threw it with all his might on the floor, after which he put the sharp end of the sword to his face. The guy asked if he was following him. Suddenly, Veyron noticed the pendant on the guy's neck and asked where he got it from. He ordered an immediate response since someone more worthy than he deserved it. Mose stuttered that he had won it in a lottery. Veyron followed up with a blow, and his health was already less than 5%. The guy thought he was joking about the lottery. It was the pure truth. In the city of Lindurk, an old man sold stone runes. Before he could finish speaking, Veyron grabbed the armor and asked what the old man looked like. Mose replied that he had a beard and gray hair, and also a robe. Having heard the answer, the guy let him go. Now Veyron realized that he was in Lindurk. Mose's health was fully restored. In the criminal world, he is known as a high-class criminal, the gambler Lyro. Mose was surprised that the uncle was a criminal. Veyron was tasked with tracking him down. He knows about one of the mysteries of the Aspargan continent, the disappearance of the Langurnus cavalcade. Mose asked what the matter was. The guy said he was a complete idiot. He didn't even know that. The cavalcade was considered the greatest fighting force on the continent. But one day, the entire force disappeared en route to war. A search party investigated the site where its warriors had disappeared, but found only abandoned ruins. It turns out that this pendant belonged to Florin, the commander of the Langurnus cavalcade. Mose thought it was just a magnificent artifact. Judging by how quickly the wounds healed, the star was real. After all this, Veyron rushed to attack with his sword. Mose asked him what he was doing. Since Florin wasn't there, the guy was going to kill him and take the pendant. He should have been a good boy and accepted death. Veyron had intended to kill him from the start. Now it was clear why he had given out all the information so easily. Mose activated his sword. This guy was too fast and he went to attack. He landed a few hits and his health dropped to 10. He hoped that the suspension would finally be his. But after this strong blow, health was completely restored, which greatly surprised Veyron. Mose asked if he was one of them. The guy had heard about player users and the like before. It didn't matter though. Even if he rose from the dead, Veyron would look for him to kill him again and again. Mose reassured himself that he just needed to wait a couple of seconds. Did he really think the guy would silently watch him get treated? He dealt more and more damage, and his health was less than 3%. Slowly, Mose began to lose consciousness. Suddenly, a man appeared and said that the swordsman kept all the truth in the sword and devoted himself entirely to it. He should have reminded Veyron more often that this was a top-secret mission. When he came to, Mose couldn't understand what was going on and who this person was. This man accused the guy of spilling all the secrets to the immortal, and also of giving in to temptation and acting like a lousy dog. He calls Veyron a traitor and sentences him to death. This man's name was Master Robin. The guy was trying to somehow justify his actions. He asked him to give him at least one more chance. After delivering the fatal blow, Master Robin said that he would apologize in hell. Mose was amazed at how the man killed his partner so easily. A second later, Robin walked up to the guy and said that he would be next. Now he knows too much information, so he himself understands that death cannot be avoided. That first guy really scared Mose. But this was on a completely different level. And there was a huge difference between them. Was this really how Mose would end up? This will never happen, because the guy told himself that he would be different and decided to put everything on the line. Master Robin was surprised that the boy did not want to give in. The man belonged to the secret class. There would be no other chance. Even if Mose died, he would have to pay a fine, and he did not back down. Did the boy not realize the difference in their skills and still want to challenge this master? If the guy dies and comes back from the dead, the man will still be after him, so you have to give it your all. The man was surprised by such courage and fortitude. Even among swordsmen, it is not often that you meet such a person. Suddenly, Master Robin noticed the ring on his hand. Suddenly, the man grabbed the boy by the throat and lifted him up to ask where he got the ring from. Mosey had a hard time moving, but he tried to explain that he got it after defeating Giratina. Robin let the boy go, but he couldn't believe that he had fallen at the hands of this kid, but he could clearly see in his eyes that he wasn't lying. The boy asked if Giratina was a swordsman. Several hundred years ago, he defected to the Imperial Army and betrayed the swordsmen. There weren't many of them back then, so no one could stand up to the Imperial Army, and Giratina waited for his moment. Now it became clear to Mose where Giratina got such an unusual ring from. The guy apologized and said that maybe he shouldn't have killed Veyron. But the man said that it was okay and someone had to do it sooner or later. But after everything he learned about the mission, Mose won't leave alive. The man gave two options: to die in agony every time after rebirth, or to become a replacement for this dead idiot and work for them. Before he could finish speaking, the guy agreed to work together. Master Robin didn't expect to hear an answer so quickly. It was as unthinkable as if Bellica, the goddess of the sun, were suddenly covered in ice. But he had already made his choice. The man did not know whether the boy could really become a swordsman. This was followed by a blow from Robin, which was such that the helmet flew to the side. The man said it was a greeting. Waking up in bed, Mose received a message about a new location, the sanctuary. Looking around, he realized that he was in a room. In the training hall of the sanctuary, Mose underwent training. He attacked a man who helped him with his studies. It was obvious that the guy was having a hard time holding back the blow. He seemed to think he could handle the girl one-on-one. She attacked him a large number of times. The movement of her sword was simply flawless. Muzu cannot compare with her in speed and technique, because she is number one among the master's students, and these are not empty words. The guy was inattentive and opened access to himself, thereby allowing an attack. Falling to the floor, the girl extended her helping hand to him. She said that his knowledge was not bad, but he still had room to grow. The guy said he just needed time, and next time he would definitely win. After returning to the real world, Mose transferred 4 million won to his mother. She couldn't believe that her son had earned that kind of money on his own, and that he needed to confess if it was something illegal. But the guy replied that he had simply been saving up for a long time for her gift. Mom wanted to ask why he became so polite, but it was already time for him to run. After turning off the alarm, the guy thought about how much he would be exhausted during training today. A few days ago, after being knocked out, he woke up in a shrine, a secret hideout for a group of mercenaries who call themselves the Swordsmen. They swear allegiance to Adius, the goddess of blades. They are a small organization that carries out various international contracts. Robin, the man who brought him here, introduced himself as one of the 10 masters and offered to join the ranks of swordsmen. Deciding it was fate, Mose agreed and joined them. But a little time passed, and he had to regret this decision. The training took a lot of energy. The workload was long and very intense, so the guy wondered if this could be the reason for the small number of members of this organization. Many of their secret missions are national in nature, so it is important to know as much as possible about all the countries. Mose had to spend hours studying. The boy was able to endure all this stress only with the help of Kia. Only thanks to her, he did not give up everything, both the path to becoming a swordsman and the game itself. Soon, he had his first official mission planned. Kia said that it was okay to be nervous, but you had to be careful not to screw it up, but Mose was already a swordsman too and knew all the rules. Their paths diverged on the road. The girl hoped to see him alive. They agreed to meet at the sanctuary. The guy watched the girl leave. Now he should go to Aspargan. Mose successfully completed the training course and is now a full member of the organization. As proof of this, he received the swordsman's seal, their distinctive ring. And for his first mission as a swordsman, the boy returned to Aspargan. From here, airships fly to the snow wall in the north of Langness. He noticed that since then, the number of players in this city has increased. As he passed, he noticed 2 players discussing speed boots. Others discussed how the skin had increased in value. A couple of months ago, everyone was beating slimes in the hope of getting a magic item, but now the average level of artifacts has increased noticeably. Suddenly, Mose heard a cry for help. Turning around, he saw a poor guy screaming that all the artifacts he had collected in the hunting grounds of Velenko had been stolen from him, and he was told that they would not be returned unless he paid a ransom. One guy heard that the number 1 guild was taking over the hunting grounds. It consists only of players with magical artifacts. They say that ordinary players and NPCs were kicked out from there so that only number 1 would supply resources to large companies. There were men standing near the entrance to the cave who told the boys that this place was only for members of the number 1 guild. These guys wanted to get rid of the strangers as quickly as possible. One man noticed something. He pointed to one guy and thought he brought money. Did this kid even know how much the artifact he scratched was worth? But this man saw Mose in front of him. The guy said that the hunting grounds are public territory, open to all players, and who are they to manage it anyway? The men introduced themselves as Guild Number 1 and said that they needed to leave on good terms. First they occupied the common lands, and now they threatened him, and it seemed that the bottom had already been reached. These men were just trash. They were pathetic scum. One of the men already wanted to hit Mose for his words, but the guy managed to strike first. The man rolled back, and his brother watched. The man ordered his subordinates to grab the guy. Mose didn't even need charm for a fight like this. One of their guild members attacked with a sword. The guy easily dodged and was about to strike back. He defeated each of them with ease, time after time. The men were shocked by such power. The guy grabbed one man by the throat and lifted him up. Mose was a simple player who decided to hunt in these lands. The men couldn't figure out what to do, stand and watch or attack. Suddenly, another man came up and asked why everyone was yelling. It was the leader and chieftain of the number 1 guild named Saksa. They were already happy that Saksa would now finish off this kid. The leader had a bronze token, which is only given to players in the top 9,000. The players were at a loss as to what to do next, but Moses remained steadfast. While he was training with the swordsman, many things had changed in the scheme. The most recent innovation was the rating system. Just 3 months ago, a player's position in the rating was determined by his popularity. However, the Information Guild has started to keep track of the players on an official level. And according to rumors, there are more than 310,000 players fighting for a place in the rankings. Saksa shouted that they were all idiots and that the number 1 guild had 7 rankers. They needed to finish quickly because they were behind schedule on resource deliveries. The leader shouted at the players to get out of here before he called security. But the man wanted to pay special attention to the guy. He said that he would pay for raising his hand to his guys. Without thinking twice, Mose struck hard. The guy suggested calling everyone who was there, including security. Let them see the leader's business crumble to dust. The men suddenly noticed some kind of glow around them. These were Moses' attacks that were so fast that no one could keep up with him. The 2 men looking at this wanted to get out of here. They rushed to run away so as not to be next. That's how easily Mose dealt with it. The guy was so focused on these idiots that he completely forgot about his main task. His airship, on which he had a reservation, leaves in 10 minutes. The players were happy about the liberation of this location and, having accepted the thanks, the guy rushed off to do his business. Soon Mose was flying on the airship Velis Dawn. He really enjoyed watching what was going on below through the window. Suddenly, a man approached him. He asked if the player had come here for a mission. Mose said that truth calls only to the sword and bowed. After that, the man did the same thing. The guy noticed that this man had an unusual aura. He used his insight ability to see the other player's name and level. The man's level was 91. The man didn't think he would meet a swordsman here. He introduced himself as Kalawer. The man was a swordsman from Laoswan. Kalawer immediately thought that something serious must have happened in the north. The guy asked him how he came to such conclusions. The man replied that it was easy to guess because there were 5 big shots on one airship, and now Kalawer is just on his way to meet them. Although Mose didn't know who they were talking about, he became very curious. The doors to the hall swung open. Inside, there was a luxurious room with a large staircase in the middle. The man said to follow him. Entering the next room, there were several people sitting at the table. Finally, everyone was gathered. These were some of the strongest people on the continent. A Triple Crown rank mercenary named Aurora asked if they had come to participate in their mission. The girl Yvonne noticed that they did not look like skilled fighters and began to doubt their abilities. Sir and Hare were members of the Order of the 14 Knights. One of them said that although the boys did not make a serious impression, one of them had the blessing of an immortal. Kyre looked at the guy, smiling. Mose wondered if this guy knew him. The swordmaster of Tikris Gon heard about a wanderer who managed to become a swordsman. Mose was surprised that this man was level 244. Swordsmen are divided into swordsmen, masters, and grandmasters. Grandmaster of the sword is the highest level in the swordsman's business. Everyone who has completed training in the sanctuary and received the seal strives for it. It became clear that Gon was the legendary grandmaster. Mose introduced himself and said that he belonged to the Aspargan sanctuary. Kalawer said that he was from the Laoswan shrine. Gon looked closely at the boys. The 2 stood firm. A second later, the man laughed at the fact that the young swordsmen were not afraid of the Grandmaster of the Sword, and that a bright future awaited them. Mose received a notification about receiving a secret achievement as he met Gon, one of the two Phantom Blades. The guy was given a couple of star points for meeting the Grandmaster. It was interesting to find out how strong these guys are. It's no wonder that this is a C-class mission, since it involves such people. Suddenly, they started checking the sound from the speaker. Then, they turned to the passengers and said that the airship captain was speaking. Soon, they would arrive in the north of Langness, at the snow wall. Their journey is coming to an end, but the captain is sure that it is just beginning. Gon suggested discussing all the details in the city. While they were walking, the guy received a new notification. The quest level has been changed. It is now twice as difficult. The team arrived in the north of Langness, at the snow wall fortress. Aurora also noticed that the quest level had suddenly increased. Gon said that if this continues, the mission will have to be cancelled. Perhaps it was all for the best, because newbies clearly can't handle this. The girl asked why the difficulty had doubled. Kair responded that, according to the document, the source of the supernatural activity had been identified. In the eastern continent of Lan, the magical continent of Olu, and here, many red lightning bolts appeared and caused damage. At first, they thought that it was a natural phenomenon caused by the magical experiment in Olu. But since the lightning was red, it was probably Garnus. That may have been the case, but they didn't know how exactly he got there. A disaster-class monster of the 17th danger level that came from an unknown continent, the Elder Dragon Garnus had reached Langness. Aurora asked what the reward was for him. Kai replied that 50 Ormicons from the Bank of Arensha, as expected, from the Order of the 14 Knights. The man laughed and said that he liked Kair's honesty. Yvonne said that she needed something else besides money. The guy offered the rights to trade food in Aspergen, and the girl liked the offer. To be honest, Kair didn't know what reward to offer Gon. The man replied that he was not at all interested in the reward. Gon said he was in if the two joined the quest on his terms. Mose received a message inviting him to join Gon's team. The guys checked into the Dragon on the Snow Hotel. They were greeted by a member of the Sincerity Caravan, Cyrus. Gon waved it off and said that they didn't deserve such high words. Mose was surprised that Cyrus had arrived before us. He was wondering if he was one of the members of the Order of the 14 Knights. Although there was no need to think long about it, one only had to look at his level. Eventually, everyone sat down at the table. Aurora asked how things were going with them now. Sayer replied that there was no red lightning currently being observed. Gon wondered if perhaps this was a lull, and now was the time to act. Aurora was going to go to the forefront and take the brunt of the attack. Gon agreed with this, and said that the front line was behind him, and he would take care of the swordsmen in the rear. Mose realized that they would attack from behind. The girl's power could neutralize the enemy. Hare would join Mr. Gon, and Sir would take on magical support. Sire was about to use a spell that would transport them closer to Garnas without attracting his attention. You could see the determination and confidence in Gon. Mose walked among the snow-covered mountains. It was difficult for him to see anything because of the snow. Suddenly, lightning struck behind him. Turning around, he saw a small darkening in the snow. Could it be that Garnas simply moved his wings? The strength of this monster was incredible. Followers shouted at the boy to hurry up. Finally, everyone was gathered and reached the mountain. Since everyone was already gathered, they could begin. Cyrus began to cast spells and raised his staff up. Having spoken the last words, he struck the ground with his staff. A magical aura appeared over the boys. Everyone looked up to see it. It was so quiet it was ringing in their ears. Mose felt that this magic was so powerful that it made him tremble all over. Cyrus continued to chant the spell. Together with him, Sir rang the bell. Everyone enjoyed this beautiful singing. Because they heard the sacred chant, the effect was activated. They now recovered 600 units of health per second, and the power of all attacks was also increased by 34%. These abilities should come in handy for them. Mose felt the magic filling him. After all, the assistant's skills were excellent, having reached the pinnacle of mastery. Incomprehensible, extremely loud sounds were heard behind the mountains. Gon reported that it seemed the enemy was already close. He told everyone to be careful and get ready. Aurora used a large shield. Yvonne, sharp vines with thorns. Mose stood waiting, wondering when and where Garnas would appear. Suddenly, there was such a huge wind that everything flew up, and that same dragon appeared behind the guy. The snow began to blow even harder, and the boys tried to cover their faces with their hands. The guy didn't immediately understand what was happening and turned around to look. Behind him, he saw a dragon with huge dark blue wings. Garnas had already opened his mouth with large fangs to swallow the guy. A glowing ball formed in the dragon's mouth. He growled, and the wave of sound spread with great force. The boy realized that he could not stand on his feet. Near this huge dragon, my legs just shook and didn't want to give in. Mose already thought that he would die here. Garnus growled, breathing out fire. The guy, almost resigned to his death, covered his face with his hands. Aurora managed to run up and protect the newcomer with a shield. The man shouted at the guy not to sit still and to run to the rear. Thick ropes wrapped around the dragon's mouth. A girl named Yvonne came to the rescue. Gon praised her for a job well done. But now it's Gon and Sour's turn. Swinging their swords here and there, they attacked the dragon. Garnus had a wound under his eye from which blood was pouring. Gon thought so. This tactic would allow them to buy time. Moose saw how the best played. The dragon roared again and broke the ropes. Gon ordered everyone to get ready. They could rely on Aurora. The man used his shield to block the flame attack, thereby repelling it. Sour and Sir read a prayer that the Almighty would have mercy on this mortal. Garnus screamed in pain and there was flame around him. They have applied a new dispersal skill. For the duration of the skill, the characteristics of the enemies are weakened. Aurora continued to fend off the dragon's attacks. Each time they became stronger and stronger, and the dragon suffered from pain. Garnus angrily blew steam out of his nose. Aurora realized that this kid was very tough. Mose noticed that this defender's level had increased greatly. The guy saw something like this during the battle with Giratina, which means NPCs can level up just by picking up a special weapon. For a while, the dragon stood still, without moving. Was he not going to attack? There was no way that could have happened. Yvonne ordered the white rose to immediately entwine him. The dragon's paws were bound by the stems of a white rose with thorns. The girl tried to hold them back with all her might. She screamed that they wouldn't last that long. Apparently, the dragon was too strong. Kyre asked to hold him a little longer, and he would use a spell. He only needed to fly up. From behind the guy's back appeared huge white wings, like those of an angel. Such beauty captivated Moses' gaze. Collower called the boy and said that this was their chance while the dragon was tied up. The boys immediately rushed to attack. But the dragon noticed their presence. The boys rolled down the mountain. Collower asked if Mose was okay, and he replied that he was fine. The guy thought they would succeed the first time, but this monster knew for sure that they would attack. The dragon watched their actions closely. A man approached the boys and called them. Gon held out the sharp swords and said that the tension had been weighing on their shoulders before. They can speed up and hit harder. They should not forget that the spirit of the sword and technique are the main weapons of a swordsman. The guys simply have to become the same masters as he is one day. Suddenly, the force of the sword wounded Garnus. The dragon began to try to dodge, as he was in pain. Mose was delighted with this technique. Now Gon's level was even higher than Garnus. His technique is perfect and has no equal. It seems the guy has found himself an idol. Gon rushes to attack, shouting that this is their chance while the dragon is wounded. The guys, without thinking twice, also rushed into the attack. Mose thought this raid couldn't end until he did something. Gon glanced at the guy. He thought that this guy seemed to have a great future ahead of him. Mose ran closer and struck with his sword. As soon as the dragon noticed this, he became furious. The guy looked at his reaction in amazement. Gon shouted at his partner not to overexert himself, since he was still a rookie. The man rushed forward to secure the blow even more. His attacks were too strong and the dragon groaned in pain. From such attacks, Garnus fell into the snow. Of course, no less a blow was expected from the Grandmaster. The man smiled and asked if such a blow would be okay. At this time, Care rose into the sky on his wings and shouted for everyone to move away. Lightning appeared among the dark clouds and headed straight for the dragon. Kyre asked forgiveness from this ancient creature. Aurora shouted for everyone to quickly hide under his shield. Such an act is needed to save millions of lives. Eventually, lightning struck Garnus. A huge dome appeared around, illuminating everything around. The monster was defeated, and the boys came closer to it. Mose was glad that this battle was over. Coming even closer, the guy saw Garnus's core. But looking at the other boys, Mose realized that they couldn't see the core. The guy thought for a bit about what to do with it. The girl came up and congratulated him on the end of the raid. And so ended the brutal battle against Garnus. During the entire battle, the guy rose as many as 25 levels. Aurora left them immediately after receiving the reward. Yvonne called her men from Bin Caravan, who cut up the dragon's body. She left very pleased with both the outcome of the battle and the spoils. Kyre thanked Mr. Gon, Collower, and Mose. Gon said that meeting talented guys like Collower and Mose is already a great reward. Kyre, of course, agreed with this. Of course, it was a bit hard for the boy, but Kyre appreciated his efforts. When everyone left, the guys were left alone. Gon said that someday, word of their deeds would spread far and wide and reach his ears. And when that happened, he would welcome them with open arms. The man tossed a coin and said he would look forward to that day. He opened the portal and was about to head to Bin Caravan. When the portal closed and the boys were left alone, Collower said that he had urgent business and needed to go. The man said goodbye and said that they would definitely see each other again. Left alone, Mose began to feel as if there had been no battle. Turning around, the guy remembered about the core. He didn't know if he was doing the right thing by taking the entire reward for himself, even though he hadn't really done anything. But it would be foolish to refuse such luxury. To stand on par with real warriors, he needs to be much stronger than he is now, and the boy touched the core. Everything around sparkled with a blinding light. Seeing the reward, which was barely visible through the bright light, Mose was taken aback. It was a magnificent new armor, with a sharp, beautiful sword to boot. Touching it, he saw that it was the sword of a Tory's brand, a legendary rarity. This information was simply incredible. The guy couldn't believe that this was the pure truth and not some kind of prank with a hidden camera. What dropped from Garnus's core was as amazing as the dragon itself. A legendary set that surpasses any unique artifacts, Mose was the first in the scheme to receive legendary items. The second streamer from the Republic of Korea, Ji-hyun, was on the line. Many people have already heard the news that the Information Guild published yesterday morning. A battle of rankers awaits them, and anyone can participate in it. Until recently, a player's rank was assigned randomly depending on his characteristics. However, in the future, more attention will be paid to this process and its verification. Rankers will be given national-level quests, so if someone is confident in their abilities, then let them come to the central square of Aspargan. Moose sat on the bench after his run. He thought about how after deciding to get stronger in the scheme, he goes for a run every day to build up his endurance. This way he can stay in the game longer. After exiting the game, he felt dizzy because he had played for too long. It was hard to accept the difference between virtual and normal reality. The guy wanted to change his real life and decided to do it with the help of a scheme. But the line between the two worlds became blurred. But the truth is that only in the game he can earn fabulous money. Because of this, Mose decided to work on himself and take the game seriously. Should the scheme be considered as simple entertainment? In the real world, little children played on the playground with animals. The uncles resolved business issues over the phone. Some people started relationships and went out with their significant other. But would the guy have a normal life like these people without playing this game? But the issue of lack of finances will not go away, so he will still need to think about it. After leaving the park, Mose wanted to return to where he belonged. Back in town, the boy handed over his armor to the blacksmith, and before he went to the shrine, he wanted to do one more thing. Noticing a small alley, he realized that no one would notice him here. Mosey took out the legendary sword from his inventory to look at it again and make sure it wasn't a dream. Suddenly, he felt the sword begin to heat up and burn his hands. The entire dark alley was filled with bright light. When the boy came to, there was a fiery aura around him. His head was splitting in pain, but he had obtained the passive skill, Atori's fighting style. On a subconscious level, he already knew how to control this sword. Now it's clear how the passive skill works. Suddenly, Mose heard footsteps behind him. Apparently, someone was standing around the corner of the house. There was a boy standing there talking to someone through a crystal ball. The crystal ball is an artifact that allows players to communicate over a distance. Mose was surprised that he could talk to it so easily. The kid could also use this ball to talk to his first team. Before he could even think about wanting one for himself, he was in the store a few minutes later. Now he took his armor and bought a ball. Mose took a small stone in his hand. Raising it up, he ordered it to go to the sanctuary of Aspargan, and the stone sparkled. A few moments later, he found himself on the airship. A nice girl greeted him and said that they would do everything to make his flight comfortable and asked where he was going. Mose wanted to fly to Bin Caravan. He should look into the White Horse of Rowendell, pointing straight ahead. The girl said to follow her. Walking down the corridor, the guy saw a note that Robin had gone there too. Mose was going to the sanctuary in person, and the master decided to get by with a simple note. Someone from behind asked why it was taking so long. Turning around, Mose saw his friend Kia. The guys were going to fly together because now they had a joint mission. Upon arrival, the huge Bin Caravan tower stood before them. The boy was very tired after the flight. Kia called out to him and pointed her finger to the side, telling him to look. This Bin Caravan tower is a place of general trade. The beauty of this architecture was simply mesmerizing. Someone called the guys from behind. The man introduced himself as Russell. He was a Silverhead member of the Information Guild. The three of them rode the elevator, having already reached the 81st floor. The man explained that floors 80 through 90 were reserved for guest rooms, and these guys will be located on the 88th in the smelting room. Kia asked if Russell had been sent by their master Robin. Everything was exactly like that. He will tell you the details after arriving and pointed with his hand towards the exit. Walking down the corridor, the three entered one of the rooms. Russell warned that everything said was equal in importance to the words of Master Robin. Kia and Mose got down on one knee and said that they were Aspargan's swordsmen and the swords he summoned were here. Opening a piece of paper, the man said that the two of them had been chosen to carry out the mission assigned to the organization. Recently, artifacts were illegally brought to Bin Caravan that were not supposed to fall into anyone's hands. They are called the Rhapsody of Ulysania. Here are rhapsodies, from the 7th to the 14th inclusive. They say they will soon be auctioned off on the top floor. Bin Caravan is run by merchants, so no one, including them, can take the item back if it is brought in as merchandise. Kia and Mose's task is to buy back these artifacts. Kia will participate in the auction as the aristocrat Ariane Marie, and Mose will play the role of her bodyguard, a knight named Maxim. There were many people at the ball, beautiful ladies in long dresses and their men. The butler asked to greet the Ariane family from Parif. All eyes were on Kea. The girl's hair was pulled back into a large bun, and she was wearing a long, tight-fitting blue dress. To participate in the auction, they had to go out into the world. A girl came up to them and greeted them, introducing herself as Akazit von Ram of the Akazit clan. She invited them to join their table if it would not be inconvenient. Kia bowed and said that everything was fine, thanking him for the offer. The boys followed the lady. For some reason, everyone at the ball was laughing. Mose felt uncomfortable hearing this. Their table was covered with various delicacies, and two more girls were sitting at it. Akazit introduced Lady Ariak to everyone, mangling her name. The sisters laughed and said that this was not right. Mose was angry, but Kia waved her hand at him that everything was okay. Raim apologized, as she wanted to show respect by using the Parif dialect. She had heard that their homeland was famous for its grapes, and asked if her family had vineyards. The lady replied that it was quite true and quite a lot. One of the sisters said that the Akazit family has a rich history. There were many sorcerers in their line who received power from magical artifacts, and they all served at the royal court. The other sister thought that Ariane's family should find better things to do, not to mention the elven blood in their veins. She couldn't imagine what it would be like to look like one of the slaves for sale on the lower floors of a skyscraper. One of the sisters suddenly became horrified. She wondered why the lady's necklace was on backwards, but it turned out that she was quite a simpleton. Akazit asked Orf to straighten the lady's jewelry. The man obeyed the girl and approached the lady. Reaching for her necklace, he said he hoped she wouldn't blame him for it. After all, now he is simply following the orders of the mistress. Orf's hand was stopped by Mose, and he asked how he dared touch the girl with his dirty hands. The three sisters turned around in horror. Kia covered her face a little with her fan. She asked if all the knights of the Akazit family were such idiots, or just him. The sisters became furious and started screaming. Kia called them arrogant fools, because a noble lady had honored them with her presence and wanted to resolve this situation with dignity, honestly, as befits aristocrats. She stated that she had been the victim of a grave insult from the Akazit family, and so she was challenging their knight to a duel with her knight in order to defend her honor. The girl asked if Maxim was ready, and he agreed. The guy activated his new sword. He was sure that victory in the battle for the honor of the family would be his. The two men were discussing this situation. One of the sisters turned to the knight and told him to defend the honor of the family. Orf had a level of 32. Mosey, seeing this, was surprised that the level was so small. The knight tried to attack his opponent, but he was too slow, and Maxim dodged his blows. Finding the right moment, Maxim struck back. He knocked down Orf with ease, and everyone in the hall watched. People's mouths even dropped open in surprise. Everyone admired Maxim's strength, but Akazit was extremely angry. She ordered her second loyal knight, Launchel, to deal with him. Launchel was a knight of the wind, and he received orders from Lady Akazit. The next knight was going to deal with Maxim here and now. He was ready to attack from behind in the hope that he wouldn't see. Turning around, Maxim protected himself from all the blows. Launchel couldn't believe he had managed it. Maxim asked if this was all he was capable of. The Wind Knight called his opponent a monster. Launchel fell to the floor in front of Maxim. The sisters and everyone else looked on in horror. Kia approached her knight. The girl said she was deeply disappointed with what was happening here. They decided to mock a family that came from distant lands. What kind of prejudice is this? She hopes that in the future their event will welcome guests from far away much more warmly. They should not forget that Bin Caravan is a place where all the cultures and peoples of this world meet and interact. People in the audience started clapping. They realized that they had done wrong and admired these two. The bearded man in the hood finally arrived. He smiled and realized that the moment he had been waiting for so long had come. The sun had already set in the city. Now their mission began in earnest. Kia took off her jewelry. She thought the reception had gone well, but their main goal was the auction. Mose kept his eyes on the girl. Kia asked him why he was staring like that, and the guy said that she got into character very well. She thought that there was nothing to play with, especially since she was dealing with nobility. These words interested Mose very much. He really wanted to know the details. The girl said that she used to be a slave in the house of an aristocrat. Their behavior and thoughts seemed to be ingrained in her. As a half-elf who had been in slavery, she wanted to finish him off on the spot. But now she is a swordsman, and Kia, who suffered because of her position and status, is already dead. The guy looking down asked for forgiveness. Kia said that everything was fine and that they should relax because they had already decided everything. The master said that he would give them a good rest after the mission. This is why the mission must be completed successfully. The wheels of the carriages clattered loudly on the stones. They have 25 ormacons and another 7,000 gold. If they buy the artifact for a lower price, that would be great, but it won't end there. Someone else was after the scores and we need to get rid of them. Having got out of the carriages, the boys began to climb the stairs. They arrived at the Bin Caravan auction hall. The doors opened and the boys were ready to begin the mission. The man on stage asked for a little attention. He said that he would now present them with artifacts more valuable than any jewels, from treasures containing the secrets of the world to artifacts that would raise their level and would definitely not leave them indifferent. The man joyfully announced the start of the auction. One servant brought an artifact covered with cloth. The first thing was about to be announced. Kia and Mose stood frozen in anticipation. It was a nail from the index finger of the last princess of the destroyed kingdom of Estrendel. The guys breathed a sigh of relief. The guy received a notification that upon receiving this artifact, a task would also be given. The starting price for the item was 3 ormacons. People kept shouting out higher and higher prices over and over again. The largest offer so far was 17 ormacons. There were no people willing to buy it for more, and so the artifact was sold. The auction had just begun, and Mose was already tired. It was urgent to pull myself together and come to my senses. The next piece for the evening would be the work of the most talented and at the same time most malicious composer. They were presented with the Rhapsodies of Julicinia, from the 7th to the 14th. The information window of this artifact was black. Perhaps it is not that simple. The starting price for this item was 4 ormacons. People started shouting out prices again, and the highest price was 9 ormacons. The host asked if anyone wanted to raise the stakes. Suddenly, Kea raised the bet to 25. The people nearby looked at her in surprise. The host asked who would want to raise it even more, but there was silence in the room. The guys were glad that everything was going according to plan, and the artifact was about to be sold. Suddenly, someone doubled the bet. Kia and Mose tensed up. The guy turned around to see who had so much money. The girl stopped him and told him to be quiet and not move. A moment later, she shouted out a bet of 75,000 gold. The presenter already understood that prices were reaching unimaginable levels. Mose asked what she was doing and if she was in her right mind. The girl assured that everything was fine and she was waiting for a reaction. The bearded man said the bet was 100 ormacons. This was the highest price in the history of the auction. Kia was convinced that her plan was working. All that was left was to catch this buyer. Mose turned to look at him. When he saw who it was, he was very surprised. The girl asked if everything was okay with him. In front of him stood a man in a black suit with a beard and gray hair. This is the same man wanted by the A-list, the gambler Laro. Laro started running away. But the guys managed to catch up with him. They had been staring at him all this time, and now they were giving chase. Laro had been waiting for their meeting for a very long time. Mosey didn't understand the aura around them. It felt like one wrong move and he would be crushed into dust. The man introduced himself as Lyro. The guy told the girl to be careful, but she didn't understand why. Kea is an NPC, so she can't see the man's level and understand the danger of the situation. This man was a real monster. His level was 102. The man said that this was truly a historic moment. The man suddenly turned to Mose. Kea was surprised that Lyro knew the guy's name. Mose explained that in Liturg, this man sold him an artifact, but it's very strange that he remembered his name. Lyro suddenly moved closer to the boy, saying that their meeting was destined by fate. Kia began to attack the man. She didn't fully understand what was happening, but she knew for sure that she wouldn't stand aside. The girl wanted to find out the whole truth with the help of her sword. A moment later, Lyro moved again. He wanted to show something to Mose. After saying his name, the man snapped his fingers. There was a small flash, and the two of them teleported away. Mose was in a panic. He didn't understand what was happening. Now his girlfriend wouldn't find them. That place wasn't really suitable for talking, and Lyro wanted to talk face to face. The man laughed at Mose's fear of being immortal. He should probably be afraid of him. Lyro took on a monstrous appearance. During that lottery, the man chose more than 1,000 immortals. They all rushed to sell their artifacts without even trying them out properly. But Mose was not one of them. And then Lyro came up with a plan especially for him. The guy didn't understand what was being discussed. He needed to remember the moment before he became a swordsman. Was it just a coincidence that he met Giratina? And why was that man's mission in Falup to capture him? And does Mose think that it was also a coincidence that they ended up together in the Bin caravan during his mission? Suddenly the boy understood everything and his face changed. Mose really did consider himself lucky all this time, but Lyro had calculated this in advance. That guy had a lot of questions. Having thrown down his sword, it was hard for him to realize that all this was not his merit. Lyro was driven by the idea of conquering this world with the hands of immortals. The man waited until the boy became angry and wanted revenge, so he could manipulate him. Lyro offered to take revenge for his family on those dirty people who took it from him. He proposed to kill everyone who wears a golden crown. It was all in Mose's hands to do this. Lyro chose him. This meant that Lyro was a man who hated the world that had taken away his family. He was angry at everyone, and now he wanted revenge. Mose immediately thought of Kia. Was she part of the plan? The decision to become a swordsman was solely the boy's, as was the desire to train for this purpose. Although, of course, Mose is grateful to the man, because the pendant he received from Lyro gave him a future. But now, the guy was going to make a choice, according to his desires. He took the flaming sword. Lyro was surprised by his answer and asked again. The quest began. A battle. It was necessary to defeat the gambler Lyro, and as a reward he would receive a hidden ability. Unexpectedly for the man, the guy struck. Lyro turned to Mose and asked what the hell was going on. An incomprehensible black smoke emanated from under Lyro's cloak. He asked the boy if he was scared. That was his strength. The power was limitless, and he could grant it to Mose if he wanted. Lyro was giving him one last chance to join him or die. It was necessary to choose right here and now. Mose replied that he had no choice. The man asked why this was so. Everyone would bow their heads before him if he accepted his offer. Why would he refuse? Together with the gambler, Mose will kill these vile minions of the Empire, and the whole world will be at his feet. The guy didn't want to disappoint him, but he didn't need to. Lyro was surprised by this answer because almost everyone dreams of this. But if that was the case, then he had no choice but to kill the guy with his own hands. Mose wished him luck with a smile on his face, and so their fight began. The guy attacked with a sword, and Lyro held him back. The man was aware that immortals were different from ordinary players. They could see and know things that were not available to others. He knows that they came from their own world. The gambler had to sell his soul to the devil for knowledge about them. The man also attacked him, and the guy found it hard to restrain himself. As he attacked, he asked if Mose had come here to have fun and find meaning in his continued existence. And Lyro kindly gave him all this. He gave him new strength, new dreams and meaning in life, entertainment and pleasure. A black force emerged from behind the man and attacked quite quickly. So why did Mose refuse such an offer? In the world of the gambler, he seeks only fun and pleasure. He doesn't care what happens around him. Mose replied that it was, and he came there for the money, like many others. But thanks to Lyro, the boy gained incredible power, and with its help was able to get to know this world better. He traveled around the continent, visited many places, and now understands well how much beauty and unexplored there is here. Every time Moses' heart beat with joy when he found himself in a new place. The guy's gratitude knew no bounds, and he understood what the man felt. But even so, Mose will not be able to fulfill his wish and will not destroy the world. The gambler asked why this was so. Mose didn't know too much yet, and he thinks the man himself doesn't want to destroy everything here. So the guy decided to take his pain and carry this heavy burden himself. Lyro covered his face with his hands and laughed loudly. Did the guy really want to say that he, who had dreamed of retribution for years, did not want to see the destruction of this world? How could he even talk such nonsense? If Mose didn't want to listen to Lyro, then who was he going to finish him off here and now? The man attacked the boy again, and his health level was less than 70%. Lyro wanted Mose dead with an incredible thirst. The guy somehow dodged, but sometimes he still got hurt. Soon his health level dropped to 30%. Lyro turned to the boy to see what his revenge and hatred looked like. The man attacked with renewed vigor, and now the guy's health level was 10%. He didn't understand what was happening because he couldn't even strike back. But if Mose doesn't stop him now, Lyro will fall into an endless cycle of destructive desires, and that can't be allowed to happen. The guy must definitely come up with something. There was a sudden flash and the sword began to glow, dispelling the dark aura. Mose destroyed 100 monsters and Atori's brand effect was activated, giving him a new skill. If you have any of the Atori Rising Sun armor pieces in your inventory, they will be equipped automatically. Suddenly, the boy's pupils disappeared. Having struck the sword on the ground, everything around caught fire. Particles of flame flew around him like a whirlwind. Lyro didn't expect this and was horrified. Everything around was ablaze with a huge flame, and the picture before my eyes was blurry. The man recalled his wife and children, who were killed by soldiers. Lyro would never forgive those vile soldiers of the Empire. The man stole valuable resources and hid in caves. He soon took revenge by killing the soldier in front of his child. The little boy cried seeing all this. He asked his uncle not to kill him. Lyro was slowly starting to go crazy. He assured himself that this murder was not his fault, and that the Imperial rats were to blame for everything. It was already clear to him then that he had done wrong, but it was already impossible to fix anything. And even though a lot of time has passed since those events, now the man is grateful to Mose for stopping him. After everything that happened, Lyro gradually began to be erased from the system. Perhaps deep down, the gambler regretted that he had not acted differently then. He asked for forgiveness and said goodbye. Particles from the man's body evaporated into the air. Lyro unintentionally atoned for his guilt. A small dome appeared on the clearing. Kia noticed this and turned around. Mose teleported back and the girl ran up to him. The boy sat on his knees, crying and looking up at the sky. He would always remember this man. He gained the hidden trait Lucky Destroyer. As always, airships were flying in the quiet city. Sitting on it, Mose examined his new feature. The Lucky Destroyer trait that the boy received after the fight with Lyro opened up 2 skills for him. Impact Destruction allowed him to create spheres from objects. Unification of the Destroyer made it possible to store and combine the received spheres. Lyro may have used this skill when handing out items to players. It felt like the man had left him a legacy. Now Mose was going to make sure that no more unfortunate people like Lyro would show up here. After talking to him, it became clear that in this virtual world, those they call NPCs have human feelings such as anger and sympathy, which means they are the same people as players. They exist on par with those NPCs that simply follow software algorithms, but are noticeably different from them. But can the scheme then be considered just a game? It is more like a parallel reality. Someone approached the guy and asked if he was okay. It was Kia. Mose replied that everything was fine. The girl asked what the guy was planning to do on vacation. He didn't have any specific plans, so he asked if she was going anywhere. Kia wanted to visit her family. The girl came from a small village in Agiris. She also told him to come over sometime and she would always wait for him. As always, there were a lot of players in the capital of Aspergen. But Mose was in no mood at all. After saying goodbye to Kea, he realized it was time to rest. Calls started coming to his glass ball. It was his old friend Sharan. She asked how he was doing. Not much time had passed when the guys were sitting in the bar as a team. The girl asked what he did that made him famous throughout the game. Mose replied that he had been working part-time here and there, had appeared in many places, and that's why they started talking about him. One guy wanted to tell what had happened to him during all this time. Rising from his chair, he showed a ring on his hand. He and the girl had received paired magic rings. Everyone started to stare and look at him with a mesmerizing look. Mose congratulated the guy on the appearance of the girl. Sharon said that he had set the bar too high because she heard that his girlfriend was an elf. Mose was so surprised that he spat out the drink. This was the first time the guy had heard of someone dating an NPC. If you recall conversations with Lyro, those who traded reality for this game do not differentiate between NPCs and real people. But for now, he sees that people are as surprised as he is by Gale's words. Although it is difficult for him personally to decide for himself how to perceive such a thing. Gale asked Mose if he could call him by his first name, and Mose said sure. When the boys played together, Gale didn't do anything special, but thanks to him, He was able to pay for his college education. Back then, the guys were having a hard time with money, both in the scheme and in everyday life, but now things are much better. Gale just wanted to sincerely thank the guy. But if he had not been with them, they would not have saved their wounded uncle and would not have gotten out of that trap. So Mose thanked him back. Sharon believed that such meetings were possible only thanks to Mose. After all, if it were not for him, they would all have become victims of the intrigues of the vile Silburn. Uncle heard about those who suffered because of such individuals, and everyone quit the game after that. They also defeated the boss. Without Mose, they wouldn't have succeeded. The boy realized that Lyro had given him a chance that affected not only him, but also other people. The girl took everyone by surprise with the news of her dismissal. Uncle knew that this was how it would all end, but the work wasn't very good, so she decided to focus on the scheme to earn some extra money. She also wanted to show off something and opened her inventory. There was a small onion that she bought herself. The onion was rare. She searched for it for a very long time. Doesn't Mose know how much pain it takes to earn such an artifact? Guile and Sharon had normal jobs, but what about Mose? Even though he tried hard, ever since he received the Florent Star, he has been lucky all the time. He obtained high-level artifacts and skills more easily than others. Instead of growing above himself, he relied on luck and on Lair's help. He just always took everything for granted. But before, Mose tried and asked to give him a chance and promised himself that he would enjoy the game, like Gale and Sharon. The guy decided that it was worth going back to the beginning and giving it his all. After some thought, Mose addressed everyone. He said that they hadn't seen each other for a long time and suggested that they do some quests together. At that time, he didn't know how this idea would turn out. The boys arrived in a dark cave. They fought hard and didn't expect it to be so difficult. Standing on the cliff edge, they protected themselves from huge lizards. 2 horses were pulling a carriage through the mountains. The guys destroyed a colony of monsters in the Damant mountain mine. A colony of monsters was discovered in the largest mines of the Aspargan continent. According to intelligence, the monsters are represented by monitor lizards. Mose thought about this for a long time. He asked the guys if anyone knew about these creatures. Guile found a book that said they belonged to the Blue Mountain monster family and lived in packs that could number up to 100 individuals. If the quest class is Wyvern, then there should be more than 500 monsters. Mose said that someone else had to be in charge of the colony. If they got rid of the leader, the remaining individuals would not pose a threat. Uncle said that the guy was right, and usually the leader is in the rear and watches the progress of the battle. To lure him out, you can take control of key areas for the colony's life. Sharon will go to the top of the mountain and find traces of the colony. Guile has magic at his disposal, so he will help Mose in battle, and his uncle will cover them with a shield. The guy was surprised that everyone was so concerned about him. The guys considered him the foundation of their team. Guile apologized and said he knew it might be hard for him. But with this plan, their chances of winning were the highest. The boys were counting on Mose. After thinking it over for a bit, the guy agreed, taking responsibility. The team descended the steps of the mine, Sharon lighting the way with a crystal. Suddenly, the girl saw something and ordered to stop. There were some sounds coming from below. Uncle assumed they were there. But to my surprise, the road ended at the edge of this cliff. Gale shouted to everyone to be careful. Suddenly, a fanged, snake-like monster jumped out from behind him. Their team leader came to the rescue and stopped the attack with his sword. The uncle approached the boy and asked if he was okay. A bunch of snake eyes were visible in the darkness. Mose knew there were too many of them. When they opened the list, the guys saw that there were almost 1,500 monitor lizards here. Everyone took their positions as they had agreed. Many monsters attacked Guile at the same time. Uncle arrived in time to cover him with his shield. Using his ability, he repelled the attacks. Mose said their position was bad, and they couldn't line up as planned. The guys saw that Sharon was fighting back. If they block her now, they won't be able to save her. Mose shouted at her to move towards them. The guy decided to take the full brunt of the blow. The girl easily slipped through the entire crowd. Now the team, as before, stuck together. Mose knew it would take a long time to kill them. The boys were a little confused, but Sharon shouted for them to get ready. The whole mine was simply teeming with monsters. Their plan had failed and they had nowhere to retreat. The team was literally standing over the abyss. But they couldn't give up, and the girl said they should at least try. Uncle agreed with her thoughts. You can't just give up. So far, they still hadn't seen the leader, and they needed to at least find out what he was like. Mose thought about what he could do now, and whether he could try to break through the crowd. But that would be a bad decision because he would take too much damage. Suddenly, he received a notification. The boy successfully destroyed 100 monsters, and the effect of Atori's brand was activated. It was just in time. The uncle shouted that he would protect the guy to the maximum, so as to try to break through. But suddenly he saw something. Mosey told everyone that he would do everything and told them to hold the shield tightly. The guy with a sword in his hands was ready to go into battle with these creatures. Uncle shouted at him not to do it. There was a huge explosion. The man tried his best to hold his shield. Opening his eyes, he saw that the guy was standing there safe and sound, and he had managed to clear the way a little. Mose gave the order to move on. 400 monitor lizards had been killed so far. The victory counter only grew. It was much easier for the guy to fight the activation of the effect. The boys watched how amazingly Mose fought. The boys were very proud of him. Sharon knew he was strong, but she had no idea he was that strong. Mose took out the entire crowd without batting an eye. Soon, almost 1,000 monitor lizards were defeated, and only a few remained. The guys asked him if everything was okay, and he replied that everything was fine. They needed to go and finish them off. The whole team moved forward confidently, and they managed to stop the attack of the monitor lizards. Mose thought back to his old wrestling days. The guys received a notification. Apparently, they reached the boss. The girl shouted to the boys to look inside. Someone's silhouette was visible among the monitor lizards. The boys stood with their mouths open and watched what was happening. This creature looked very much like a human. His arms and legs were normal. Mose came closer to ask who he was. The man replied that he was a fallen man, and while dancing he said that he was like them, but he had fallen. The guy didn't understand anything. The man pointed to his large hump and said again that he was a fallen man. Mom threw the hunchback off the cliff. Uncle said it was just inhumane. Mose asked if there were any more people like him here. He replied that there were, but they had already turned into bones. The man said the boys looked like his mom and dad and asked who they would dump this time. Gail shouted that they didn't come for this, but the man didn't believe him, because his mother had said the same thing before, and he also said that the guys had killed his friends. Pointing to the monitor lizards, he said that they took care of him when he was abandoned, and the man taught them to live in peace. His friends said that they would fulfill any of his wishes. Mose asked again, puzzled. This man shouted that the hole needed to be destroyed. The team was in shock because it was very dangerous. If this man collapses the mountain, all the nearby villages will be buried under stones and people will die. The man said that there are more guests here than there are living people in the area. The king of the village throws into the hole all those without arms or legs and those who have a hunch. They do not obey, and he throws them. Sharon immediately thought of the viceroy. Uncle said that the governor threatened them with death and forced the parents to disown their own children, just so that the village would look good. The man simply became furious. Now it became clear why people were not happy when the guys took on this matter, but rather they were scared. The man threatened that if they interfered with his business, he would become very angry. Mose thought about how the boys, depending on the reward, didn't like the idea of deciding who lived and who died. Surely this was the first time they had to make such a difficult choice. The guy himself couldn't imagine that he would face such a dilemma in a regular quest. The team discussed whether they should kill the boss and save the villagers. Mose walked up to everyone and asked what they were going to do. Uncle asked if there was another way, and how about making peace and talking peacefully. Mose approached the man and asked for forgiveness for killing his friends. They had to do it because the monitor lizards attacked them. The boy assured him that the man should not get rid of the hole, because if he did, the village would collapse and his mother would die. This man did not want his mother to die. Mose promised that they would deal with the bad king, and then people like him would not be thrown here. The man didn't want anyone to turn into bones again and his friends to be sad about the dead. But the guy said that then this man should also leave here. Leaving the mountains, he will be able to help other sad fallen children. The man asked the guy if he promised, and if he promised, then they would do everything as he said. Mose promised honestly and they pinky swore. Now Mose had an idea. Near Mount Demunt, the information guild in Leadwood, the guy in the hood was sitting at a table and talking to someone. It was Mose, who spoke through the crystal. He said that he had some business that he wanted to entrust to this man, and the guarantor would be the knight Maxime. The boys again went down the stairs to the cliff. It was a great surprise that not a single monitor lizard was left. There was still some man with them. He praised the boys and presented them with 6,000 gold pieces they had honestly earned as a reward. The team left the mine, this time without Mose. Now they wanted to go to Demont Castle. Guile hoped Mose had things under control now. 2 hours ago, Uncle wanted to get a reward for the quest and take revenge on this king who ordered to throw children off the cliff. Sharon agreed, but Gail asked if they really wanted to have their cake and eat it too. Uncle believed there must be a way to do something like this. And it certainly is. Mose said that everyone knows for sure that the scheme is popular because of the freedom in terms of gameplay. By freedom, he meant that within the framework of the game, any events that they are able to imagine are possible. The goal of the quest was to destroy all the monitor lizards. Uncle understood why Mose had told that guy to leave the mine. If everything goes according to plan, they will be able to take revenge and receive a reward for completing the quest. Some man was dressed in a robe, and it was not visible who was hiding behind it. He was riding a horse. Everyone watched in hope that now the king would finally be punished. The man raised his sword and called out to Lari, the ruler of Demant Castle, who must now answer for the evil he had done. Mose watched with a smile. This man was just in time. Kia was hidden under the cloak on the horse. The ruler came out of the castle, guarded by dozens of guards. Larry asked what the noble lady was doing in this god-forsaken place. The villagers were afraid of him. One man rushed to fall on his knees in front of the man on horseback and asked to be heard. He said that there were no more beautiful eyes in the whole wide world than his little daughters, and he was threatened with death if he did not throw her off a cliff, simply because she was an invalid. He claimed that the king himself had threatened him. Kia's ally noted that the evidence of guilt was simply handed to him on a silver platter. The man removed his hood, and the face of a blue-eyed blonde guy appeared there. He was from the Order of the 14 Knights. The guy asked if everything people said was true. Larry assured that he was devoted to his country like no one else, and healthy citizens were the foundation of the empire's future. He believed that those who were cursed from birth had no right to walk this earth. Sharon and Uncle were furious when they heard this. Larry used his position to solve the problem, and the politics of these lands are not subject to discussion unless the emperor himself intervenes. The guy from the Order of the 14 Knights said with a grin that he didn't come for that. He was brought here by some rumors. The Information Guild said that there was a quest for a swordsman here. And the point is to take revenge on one lord from the castle. These words immediately shocked the ruler. He instantly became furious and asked who dared to do this. He ordered his knights to arrest everyone right here and now. Ordinary people were terrified. They feared that the same fate awaited them. The blue-eyed boy turned to Larry. With a piercing look, he asked him what he was doing. The guy was hired by the Order of 14 Knights, and he faithfully serves the shrine itself, and everything Larry said was against the laws. People like him poisoned this continent without realizing who the real trash is. Larry shouted and asked how he dared to insult the owner of the castle himself. The guy started to get irritated by his behavior. He said to take a closer look at who was standing in front of him. However, since this is not his task, he will not interfere. Some kind of fog began to hover around Larry. Something very close flashed past his neck. It was a super-fast attack by Kea. The residents could not believe that the ruler was finally dead. They realized that they were saved from this horror, and were grateful to the glorious night. The team received a message about the task being completed. Sharon handed Mose something to look at. She found it in the mine, and it seemed like that guy left this letter for him. The letter was written briefly, and there were mistakes in almost every word. It said that he and his friends left as promised, and said to head to one point. There is a large ship there. What is inside? He does not know, because he is afraid to go in, but Mose will definitely succeed. The guy, after reading this, could not understand where the ship came from. Kea called out to him and asked if he had any idea how long it had taken her to get here, and how difficult it had been. The girl was about to start scolding him. Mose said that he missed her, and they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Kea was a little embarrassed and agreed. After a hard day, the boys went to have a bite to eat. Mose was looking for an assistant in this matter, and he thought that Kea would be suitable for this role. Sharon asked the girl what her relationship was to Mose. Kea herself didn't know how to explain it and replied that they were probably colleagues. This answer stunned Mose. The boy was very upset when he heard her answer, but his uncle supported him. Mose always thought they were more than just colleagues, but now he needs to find that ship before leaving the location. Mose was descending the mine stairs. It became much quieter in this place. The guy approached the water. But was the place mentioned in the letter even here? Suddenly, something seemed to rise from under the water. A huge frigate ship rose into the air. The ruins of the ship of the heavenly ruler were discovered. A message came in asking if the guy wanted to turn the ruins of the heavenly ruler's ship into a core. It was too stupid a question, and Mose pressed the confirm button. The huge ship began to glow brightly. It turned into a small core, inside of which was the shadow of the ship. Suddenly, someone approached the guy and said that they had met again for the umpteenth time. It was a guy from the Order of the 14 Knights. He was surprised and intrigued. because it was the first time he saw an immortal so often. Mose didn't think Hire would be here either, but they were both interested in the castle. The guy assumed that Care would blame the king for the murder of Kaya. The guy didn't want to do this under any circumstances and started talking about the code of the Order of the 14 Knights. But Kia had already broken the law. The order does indeed operate according to established principles, and what he says is true, but he needs to know that Hare is as human as Mose. At first, the guy didn't understand what he was talking about. The knight replied that Mose did the right thing because he hated those who tortured and kept people in fear, so he wanted to express his gratitude to him and that young swordswoman. That was all Kyre wanted to say. He turned around and walked away. Mose put his hand on his heart and thought about how this knight was a man just like him. Mose and Kia walked and talked about how the girl's last couple of mugs yesterday were unnecessary. But despite this, she at least found new friends. The guy was pleased to hear that she considered them as such. Kia said that she liked the immortals because they had no prejudices about this world, and they treated her like a human. And they didn't care that she was a half-elf. That's why the girl liked Mose. The guy, a little embarrassed, called Kay. She was coming down the stairs and said that it was almost lunchtime, so we needed to hurry. There were already many people sitting in the dining room eating their lunch. Uncle asked what Mose's plans were now. He wanted to find a new quest and invited the others to join. The boys happily agreed, because with him they were afraid of nothing. Sharon told Gale to make his own fame, but she seemed delighted. The boys left, and Mose was left alone with Kia. She asked where they would go this time. The guy hadn't figured it out yet, but he assumed they would return to Aspergen. Hearing this, Kia was a little upset, but Mose suddenly offered to join them. At first, the girl was surprised, but happily agreed. A huge ship was flying in the air. The team inspected the insides of the new acquisition. Kia asked the guy where he got such a ship from, and he replied that it just happened. The girl saw something and asked who it was. It was Elsha, the fairy of the sparkling tree. She is the guardian spirit and the foundation of this ship. The fairy greeted and said that she was steering the ship under the orders of her new master, Mose. She said that they would soon reach their destination, the continent of Aspergen. The boys were very surprised because they had just boarded. The ship landed near a bridge in the city. Kia asked if he was by any chance a secret wizard of the White Fortress or something like that. Mose told everyone to follow him to the Information Guild. There was a crowd of people near the entrance. The guy and his team tried to get deeper. The manager of the Information Guild reported the bad news that all branches on the continent had closed. Sharon couldn't believe that all the offices had closed at once. A man ran up and shouted for everyone to come out to the square immediately. Mose knew this was not a good thing. People rushed to run to the square. It seemed like a mukbang on Schema TV. The screen showed the bodies of dead people. It seemed like it was all a shitty prank. Mose was horrified and didn't understand what was happening. The scheme was under someone's control. The Immortals could not stop the broadcast on their own. The man who came on the screen addressed the Immortals. As predicted, they came to their land, but who allowed them? Perhaps the sun goddess Bellica allowed them? Or Bellis, the moon goddess? Immortals entered this world without permission. This man said that no one liked their presence because they invaded their world. They did this to destroy, rob, and deceive them. Did they really think the NPCs would just stand by and watch? The man pointed to two captured people wrapped in rope. In a moment, the lives of these captors would end, but they were unable to return to their world. Mose was angry that they captured innocent people. This man, Lydorn, Prince of Logis, declared war on them. Mose has activated a new quest. Since Prince Lydorn's appearance on the Schema TV forums, panic has set in. Some players have taken it as a normal event. However, there were also those who were concerned about the artificial intelligence's excessive intelligence. On the forums, many users expressed words of support for the Schema TV channel. From time to time, posts appeared in which players expressed sympathy for Lydorn. Soon, many players began looking for teams to join together in a quest. In no time, nearly 1 million players rallied to fight back against Lydorn's tyranny. Mose's ship sailed through the clouds. The guy looked out the window thoughtfully. Kia approached him and handed him some tea made from kefale leaves. Mose looked at his reflection in the mug and asked the girl what she thought about all this. She didn't have any particular thoughts, she was just surprised. Probably because she had been at war since birth. Whether it's a war with fate to avoid being abandoned by her parents, or a war with wolves to avoid becoming their prey. A slave's desperate fight for her survival. Or a war against those who laugh at her because she has two bloods mixed in her. This is the kind of war she is talking about. She had to protect herself all her life, so other people's squabbles were always left aside. Mose felt he owed her an apology. But everything was fine. Now it seems like a distant past. One magician once said that their world is unstable. Passages between dimensions are constantly opening and closing. And every race that does not belong to this world came from another reality. And elves are one of those races. The guy didn't know about it. At first, many attacked them, persecuted them. However, in their days, the two civilizations finally found a common language, although half-breeds are still treated with contempt. Discrimination has not completely disappeared. But now there are immortals. Like Mose, they are bright and brave personalities. Sometimes they cause some trouble, but that's human nature. The truth is that civilizations have developed thanks to them, and many locals have come to love the immortals. The guy asked the girl what she thought about them personally. As she said, she liked the immortals because they didn't call her half-breed, subhuman, or half-elf. For them, she was just Kia. And Mose was one of them. The guy even felt embarrassed by such words. The girl was interested in what would happen if everyone looked at the world the way he and his friends did. Some don't understand or accept players, like Lydorn. He probably has his own motives. It's always hard to watch someone else's grief and suffering, but the method of struggle he chose harms the innocent. This doesn't make the problems any less. Ultimately, it doesn't matter what drives him. This couldn't be done, so Mose set out to put a stop to it. There was a heavy downpour outside. On a mountain in the middle of the forest stood a flag, and nearby lay the wounded and dead bodies of people. The guy was wounded. He couldn't believe that an entire army of players and NPCs were destroyed in the blink of an eye. The guy couldn't understand if it was even possible to defeat Lydorn. Soon, a large-scale event was to take place in the scheme. They received a message that the Guild Wild Rose, which was the first to head to the event battle, was completely destroyed. Immediately after the battle, Prince Lydorn sent his cavalry to besiege the castles of Toika and Magus. Kia knew things were getting worse. They had to join in and help them. The uncle asked the boy if he planned to join the fight right now, but there were no options, and he had to do at least something. Mose asked the others if they were going to go with him. The guy didn't force anyone, and it was their personal choice, but they should know that it is very dangerous there. Uncle and Gale looked at each other. Then they replied that they would like to join. Mose was shocked because he wasn't expecting anyone else. It was obvious that the guy was much stronger than any of them, and if he led their squad, they would follow him. Sharon said that Uncle was right. Their team of 13 needed a leader, and no one could handle that job better than Mose. The guy immediately started brushing it off and saying that he was not the kind of person who could become a leader. Kia looked at Mose for a long time. Taking a deep breath in and out, he continued and said that the situation was getting worse and worse with each passing second. If they really believed him, then let them become his comrades in this fight. His friends were not afraid of anything when they walked with him. Kia vowed to help Mose until the very end. The guy thanked everyone and promised that he would always move forward. The troops were walking across a field near a large mountain. The man asked what was wrong with their troops. The other replied that they had 20 tank warriors left, and 10 of them had low health. The man did not understand how to stop this Lydorn. Someone called the crystal ball and asked for an answer. It was King Tiger. He reported that most of their warriors were killed and asked how the other brigade was doing. They had almost everything the same. Almost no one left, and they could not continue to fight any further. The Tiger King suggested joining forces. Their detachment was now on the riverbank near the plain. The man accepted and said that they were moving out. Suddenly, one of the teams shouted for everyone to look. A huge army with knights on large winged griffins was approaching. This team needed to run to the plain urgently because they had to unite with the others. The leader shouted at them to run even faster. He stayed and said that he would try to buy time and shouted for them to attack. One knight was ready to strike with a sharp weapon. The man could not imagine that he would die so quickly. Suddenly, he heard the words of a spell, and an explosion occurred that threw the warriors back. It was some young guy. He ordered the man to go to the others. It was the player boy who first entered the White Tower. This is the third in the official ranking of Kellyon magicians. Several tents were pitched on a small vacant lot. The man was shouting at the military. Did they really mean to say that the troops of nearly 11,000 users and NPCs were destroyed? Kellyon defended himself by saying that it wasn't just an enemy NPC army. They were lucky to be alive at all and to get out of there. After that, the man started yelling even more, because their guild was completely destroyed. He furiously asked what they were doing while they were being killed on the front lines. The knight suddenly began to shout back, but now it was necessary to quickly build a camp and fortify the defense. Suddenly, the men heard something. A huge army was advancing on their camp. The guy ordered all the tanks to stand on the front line of defense. It was necessary to cast a spell on the tanks as quickly as possible. Everyone needed to replenish their mana reserves. Griffins were already visible on the horizon. Kellyan wasn't sure if they could even resist. Ladorn asked forgiveness from his faithful comrades. They followed him, renouncing their country, their throne, and their honor. Their loyalty to him is such that even the sun goddess Velika cannot eclipse it. Ladorn foolishly entrusted his soul to the mistress Aina. He ordered the knights who followed the angry prince to advance. If he can take even a part of the enemy's dishonor with him to hell, he is ready to die even 100 times. Ladorn ordered the black griffins to spread their wings. The huge birds flew up. They attacked an army of ordinary players and they tried to protect themselves with a shield. Kellyan also tried to use his powers against them. But he was practically at the end of his rope. If this continued, they would be destroyed. Suddenly, he received a notification that the player Elsha was requesting a mana source in the amount of 1,000 from him. After thinking for a bit, the guy agreed. The army looked up as a huge ship flew above them. The cannons protruding from the ship were ready for battle. The ship's ferry has given permission to open the light shower fire. Projectiles were fired from the large ship, instantly killing the griffins, who tried to rise as high as possible. The army did not understand what was happening and who these people were. They began to attack while their enemy was confused. Fierce fighting was taking place below. Moses' team was already ready to begin. Now they must move against Prince Ladorn. Something descended to the ground with a huge beam and a roar, and everyone paid attention to it. When the fog cleared, a team appeared behind it. Mose gave the order to go into battle. Kia used her speed to quickly deal with enemies. Sharon could attack griffins with a bow. Uncle shouted that he could hold them back and that he should move forward. Mose also did a great job and started to do it. A man crept up behind him and was already ready to kill the guy. But suddenly something stopped him. It was very similar to magic. Kellyan introduced himself and thanked them for saving him from death. Kellyan didn't know there was a player with such a huge flying ship. The guy extended a helping hand to get up. Mose also introduced himself, saying that he was glad to meet him. Kea called out to them, telling them that now was not the time for pleasantries. The guys agreed that they would talk later and were ready to go into battle again. One of the enemies was very fast and almost injured Mose. The guy didn't think it would be so difficult. These enemies were strong, and each of them was equal in strength to a small detachment of ordinary warriors. In that case, Moose needs to raise the bar. He activated Atori's sword and quickly defeated those nearby. Mose realized he was too deep in the field. Without giving them time to come to their senses, new knights attacked. Mose bumped into Kia and asked if everything was okay. He told her not to worry because he would protect her. Smiling slightly, the girl ran away, shouting that she could handle it herself, and let the guy take better care of himself now. Mose had something he could do. Suddenly, the guy saw someone. Mose had been waiting for this meeting for a long time. It was that same Prince Ladorn. He stood on the edge of the cliff and looked down. A moment later, a pair of blows occurred. The boys came face to face and the prince began to attack. Ladorn was strong enough that Mose wouldn't be able to withstand his attacks for long. Suddenly, something happened and the guy couldn't take it anymore. The sword seemed to push him away, and Mose rolled to the side. He was subjected to the dizziness effect. Having come to his senses a little, he realized that everything was swimming before his eyes. A second later, he saw Ladorn in front of his face, who was about to strike. The guy couldn't even let the prince dream about his death. Mose's uncle came to his aid and covered him with his shield. Ladorn said quietly but confidently that standing in his way was very presumptuous. He asked if the boys knew why he was called the White Wolf of Logis. Because those who decide to oppose him always die from his wolf fangs. Suddenly, a portal appeared behind the uncle, from which a sword flew out and hit the uncle straight. The man screamed in unbearable pain. It was incredibly hard for Mose to see this. Uncle winced in pain. The man said that he was probably the first one to leave Mose. Soon the uncle disappeared from the game system altogether. Ladorn pointed his sword at the boy and said that he would be next. Mose rose from his knees with hatred. The effect of Atori's set and the Solar Fury skill have been activated. Mose promised to kill the prince with his own hands. The boys got into a fierce fight. With each attack, Mose's strength, speed, and health increased. Ladorn noticed that he was getting stronger with every second. The angry guy delivered an extremely powerful blow. Ladorn was thrown into the wall with great force. The guy was already very tired, but he understood that he couldn't stop fighting. The prince tried to get up. He noted that, apparently, immortals also have feelings, and the death of their comrade affected them. Mose ordered him to close his mouth. His stats were increasing. Their swords touched again. Lidorn did not consider the death of an immortal a tragedy. Mose couldn't even imagine what was happening to the prince when he was forced to say goodbye forever. And after that, Lidorn struck with renewed vigor. The guy couldn't believe that his opponent's strength had increased because he was already strong enough, but now it was just brutal. Lidorn believed that these immortal killers had no right to walk this earth. He said to look death in the eye, for he carries the sword of retribution and has come to punish. Suddenly, a sharp sword pierced Moses' body. Of course, the guy fell from such an attack from behind. Lidorn said that these immortal guys are not the masters of this world. Do they really think that they can do whatever they want? The prince shouted, asking who gave them the right to dispose of the lives of those dear to him. Suddenly, the boys heard someone's voices and turned around. It was Gale and Shirin. Lidorn saw that the guy seemed to have someone close to him. Mose realized what he was about to do and shouted at his friends to run away. Lidorn made a couple of waves with his hand. A portal opened behind Guile and a sword emerged from it, which also killed the boy. Shirin couldn't believe that her friend was dead. Lidorn wanted the boy to feel his own powerlessness while he was killing people dear to his heart. Mose yelled at him to stop. A moment later, a portal appeared behind Shirin. She saw the sharp tip of the sword in front of her face and was already ready to accept death. Suddenly, Kellyan intercepted her. Lidorn did not expect such a turn of events. The guy managed to save the girl, and the sword fell to the ground. Mose himself didn't have time to notice how the guys disappeared. The army continued to fight against the griffins. Kia killed another winged creature. The girl noticed that it started to rain. Turning around, Kea saw something. Not far from her stood Mose and Lidorn. The boy begged the prince with all his might to stop. Lidorn said with a straight face that they were all selfish hypocrites, true monsters who profit from Bellica's blessings. The sorrow they feel as immortals is dust, a mirage and self-delusion, for it lasts for days. Mose was furious and didn't understand what he was talking about. After a few days of sadness, the players returned to their world again. The flame of life of Lidorn's beloved Ein was extinguished forever. Because of the likes of Mozu, these people always came again, and he always killed them. The prince asked him if he knew what they had once said. The player said that he had had enough and was tired of playing. For the immortals, everything that happens here is just a game. The guy remembered that earlier he was interested in the game only because of the battles and raiding. The Solar Fury skill was deactivated, and Mose was at a loss for words to respond. Lidorn didn't think that all players were like that, but those who broke the laws and caused chaos were always immortals, people who didn't want to take responsibility. So the prince came to solve this problem once and for all. Did the boy still think he had the right to stop Lidorn? Would he have enough strength? Mose realized that he would have a hard time resisting the prince's wrath. He must admit that Lidorn is right, but he cannot back down, at least for the sake of those who are fighting with all their might. Mose is the only one who can defeat him. Even if the Solar Fury doesn't work, he will cope and put an end to this. Lidorn rushed to attack, to finally end all this. Suddenly, the guy saw a vulnerable spot on his opponent's body. The prince immediately understood what he wanted to do and opened a portal behind the player. The sword seriously injured Mose. His health level was 20%. This damage was simply colossal. The guy already thought that he would die like this. Suddenly, he heard a voice calling him. It was Kia. She shouted that she was coming to help him. The boys looked at her, and Lidorn realized that the girl was not immortal. Mose screamed at her to leave immediately. Lidorn pointed his sword at her and asked if she knew this guy. Kia answered calmly that she did. Was she really willing to sacrifice her only life for some player? The girl thought for a few seconds. Mose screamed at her not to do it. Kia, after thinking for a moment, replied that she was ready because this man was dear to her. It doesn't matter that he's immortal, she can't let his eyes close even for a second. Kia is ready to die for this man, she doesn't care that he is different. She has nothing to say against Lidorn's desire to get his way, because he has made his decision. The prince had every right to judge her. In that case, when the girl chose her death, Lidorn opened a portal behind her. Mose screamed at the top of his lungs and pulled out his sword. He threw it with great force towards her. Due to their collision, both weapons flew off and missed the girl. Lidorn was furious that even now the boy continued to fight. He already wanted to finish off Mose as soon as possible. Suddenly, the guy called Sharma. As the prince allowed himself to come closer, Charming deeply wounded him. This was the end of this war. Lidorn could not believe that he had missed such a moment. Did the immortal think that this was the end? This is just a spark that will start a big fire. The prince's mission was complete. Others would take his place and ignite the flames of war. The boy collapsed to the ground. Mose couldn't believe they did it. His level was raised due to completing the quest. Kia called out to the boy and he turned around. Mose rushed to her and started shouting why she risked herself like that. This was necessary to kill Reborn. The girl hugged him, and Mose asked her never to do that again. Kea suggested praying for the deceased. The boys stood and hugged in the rain near Reborn's body. The tragic story of this prince changed a lot in the world of the scheme. The kingdom of Logis and its surroundings have seen the appearance of the Lidornians, a group of NPCs hostile to players. They decided to continue Reborn's work and innocent players suffered again. Soon, the White Tower established the magic of the brand. This brand allowed both NPCs and players to accurately identify trolls. The Guild of Information set a bounty on the heads of such individuals. Some players and NPCs began calling themselves troll hunters and looking for the marked ones. A real hunt for internet trolls in virtual reality began. The guy was sitting on the ship and scrolling through the newsfeed. He became the subject of much controversy because his ship made him a celestial ruler. And Mose was now virtually unable to move without attracting attention. It was good that people were still engrossed in the debates about whether he was an NPC or not. However, if he was unlucky, things would turn out in such a way that peaceful travels could be forgotten. Mose didn't understand why they were arguing about such nonsense because who cares who he is? After Reborn's death, his heart was heavy. Kia tried to calm him down and eventually it worked. The girl suggested that they take a vacation and go to her homeland, so now they are on their way to her hometown of Agarus. The ship's ferry reported that preparations for his training were complete. The inner walls of the lower floor were further strengthened with magic, and the boy began his training. He noticed that everything around was covered in some kind of mesh. Mose decided to summon charm in his left hand, and he was going to take another one in his right hand. It was another engraved sword that he received after defeating Reborn. With this sword, Reborn killed his comrades. With the receipt of karma, the guy learned a new skill, 2 engraved swords at once. The sword's power was increased by 8%. All skills like engraving call were changed to will call, and Go's active skill was also learned. This skill allowed him to direct swords to a target using runes. So now, he could use long-range combat techniques, which was very convenient. Needless to say, the attack power had increased significantly, but there was one caveat to all this. The swords were reflected and flew back. The guy caught Sharma with one hand. He somehow managed to catch the second one with his left hand. Mose fell to the floor from the force of the swords. He was angry because he couldn't handle 2 at once. It was very bad because he couldn't do that. He won't be able to protect anyone and, like a fool, will stand and watch the people dear to him die. At this rate, he will lose them all. You need to train more, and you can't stop. The guy was going to try until he succeeded and would not budge. This was a very difficult task. He could barely catch one sword, and he had 2 of them. Mose stretched his arms and caught his breath. Suddenly he noticed Kay at the door. She asked if he had finished. The girl pointed out that he was all dirty. She handed him some other clothes. It was Azarus' linen shirt. Kia told him to put it on when he got himself cleaned up. They were clothes from her hometown. Since they were going to her place, he should dress up. Mose thanked him and said he would take care of it right away. Without letting go of the shirt, he continued to think about how he had to become stronger to protect his loved ones. A man asked if the unknown person had brought everything, and he answered that yes. The guy just got it today, and it was still warm. If so, then this is a completely different matter. That's why the man couldn't stop playing. Mose saw something incredible in front of him. Before him was the free city of Azarus with a huge tower. The boy was amazed at his greatness. The White Tower, the alchemists of Ruza, the secret servants of the Empire, say that in the past they all conducted experiments here without any restrictions. After which this place turned into a lifeless wasteland where nothing grows. But Giza, the wisest of the elves, blessed this land by sacrificing his soul. This is how the free city of Ascaris came into being. Mose asked why he was free. The girl replied that they simply did not have a specific ruler. The guy was very surprised by this, and who then deals with the criminals? This was all on the shoulders of the conglomerate. Representatives of each race gather for discussion. These representatives are called the Elders of Ajarus. Therefore, in the city he can hear many different opinions from different races and on a variety of issues. It was incredibly interesting. Not long ago this game was Mose's chance to make ends meet. He went through many difficulties, found new friends, and even completed a team quest. During his journey, he managed to join the ranks of the swordsmen. As both Mose and Lee Kehoe, he was fortunate to begin building relationships with wonderful people. That's why in the last battle with Reborn, The guy made an important decision for himself. His duty is to protect those dear to him. Suddenly, Kea called out to the boy. She asked Mose what he was thinking about, and he replied that he was thinking about some trivial matters. The girl took his hand and said that they needed to go because there was so much she wanted to show him. Mosey, looking at the girl's smile, swore to protect her no matter what it cost him. The guys went into a local bar and had a glass each. There were some delicious drinks there. Suddenly, a man with red hair and a beard braided into two ponytails approached them. He hasn't seen Kay for so long. The girl introduced Mose to her friend named Lorad. Although he was short in stature, his ears were definitely the biggest in the whole city. And the voice was simply beautiful, not out of tune at all. The boys extended their hands to each other to shake. The man noticed that the boy was a swordsman. Lorad, noticing the ring on his finger, asked what brought Mose to Azarus. Kea replied that they were not there for work. They were currently on vacation. Many people think that swordsmen come to stir up trouble, so Lorad thought that they were here for that very reason. The girl did not understand what her friend meant. He threw a bundle of paper on the table containing a small, incomprehensible ball. This thing is called Venetic, a new drug that is absorbed through the skin. It is easy to get in Azarus, and even children can easily find a dose. The girl was confused because her elders had banned drugs. Lorad replied that they should already know that many immortals had arrived in Azarus, and the city had begun to develop thanks to the construction of new factories, and everything was fine until one moment. The man didn't know when it happened, but Venetic started being sold in every bar. Lorad was about to tell who was behind this. 5 men entered the bar. The boys turned around to look at them. Lorad said that these are the same guys, drug dealers. They have their own guild and a giant potion factory, and the locals assume that this is where the drugs are produced. Mosey knew right away that these guys were players. Kea asked what their guild was called. The name of the guild was Pickup Artists. People were having fun and leading a dissolute lifestyle. The director asked one guy who was working the night shift today. The guy replied that there were 3 half-elves and 6 lymphs. The director got angry because he said that he needed at least 5 elves. Another man told him to calm down and not make noise. It seemed that today's guests had arrived from Valum. After thinking for a bit, he realized that the half-elves from Valum were still not so bad. The director told the boy that he would take them for the night so that he would bring them here. And the main thing was that there was not a scratch on them. The same drug dealer came to see them. He asked the director if he had already decided. The man said that he saw something interesting in the bar yesterday. The half-elf was in the company of a strange player. The director immediately became interested in this. The man handed him a photograph. When the director saw them, he said that this was what he needed, that this was exactly what he wanted. He ordered the man to bring this girl quickly. Kea handed over the stewed Ruto in Ajarus style. Mose was delighted and couldn't believe that the girl had prepared it herself. He devoured the food with great pleasure. The girl was glad that he liked her. She said that her friends, Shara and Farah, would be arriving soon, and she would like to introduce them. Suddenly, Lorad burst into the room. Ruto spilled onto the girl's clothes from fright. Lorad reported that something terrible had happened, and they needed to quickly pack up and go. The boys arrived at the local hospital. Doctors tried to stop food poisoning. It was Shara, Kea, and Mose stood in horror. They didn't understand what was happening. The nurse tried to calm her down. There were dark burgundy spots on Shara's body, and the girl was itching all over. Mose noticed something strange on her neck. Kea asked Lorad in horror what was going on here. The man said sadly that the two were forced to take the drug by those guys. The boys turned around and looked at him. Mose immediately thought of those pickup artists from the establishment. The patient screamed and asked to be given drugs. Those guys not only started distributing the drug in the city, but also forcing Kay's friends to take it. There is no forgiveness for that. The guy called Kea. She was crying with anger at those scoundrels. Mose promised that those who did this to her friends would be punished as they deserved, and he would personally take care of it. For this, he was willing to go to any lengths. The girl asked if he swears by the name of Bellica herself. Mose confirmed this confidently. Around the same time, the Scheme Masters group, the game's largest online community, was thrown into chaos by 2 events. First, the search began. The Information Guild's search team found the sacred treasure after searching for 9 months of game time. The holy treasure is also called the Eye of the New Humanity. It is the fossilized eye of the giant Ortopus, who was known in the past as the Great Prophet. It was announced that the new humanity that the prophet spoke of were the players who began to appear en masse in the Scheme world. And secondly, Venetic became a hot topic in Masters. If this new drug is not eliminated from the body within 24 hours after the first dose, severe poisoning will occur, accompanied by convulsions. This severe poisoning can even cause death, and there was no antidote for it. It is known that only high-level alchemists and mages who have learned the Karskania detox skill can remove the poisoning effect. However, most alchemists are already members of guilds or are sponsored by someone, so the price for the services of these specialists is incredibly high. Finding a sufficiently experienced magician is quite difficult. You can count them on your fingers. Those who use it have no choice but to become slaves to the drug. 2 guards stood at the entrance to the guild branch. Mose and Kea were walking up the steps towards them. This is exactly the place Lorad told them about. Shira and Farah received an invitation from a troll minion. The man cried and remembered that these girls' birthdays were coming soon, and their beloved bard was supposed to come to town. They were so happy about the invitation, but this happened. Lorad blamed himself for this. He said he should have stopped them. The girl understood which troll's henchman was being talked about. Kea thanked the guy for going with her. She wanted to tell him something before they went. She was going to chop them into little pieces, even if it meant selling her soul to the devil. Mose also believed that these non-humans cannot be forgiven, because it is because of them that the Lydorns appear later. It was already time to start. The security guard stopped the couple. He said that today the entrance is only for VIPs. The place is reserved for this evening. But then the guard said that an exception was made for half-elves, so she could use any of the castle's rooms. This was the order of the organizers. Mose was determined and didn't care, since he was her escort. The guards repeated once again that he was not a half-elf, so he just needed to leave quietly and peacefully. Kea walked forward and the guy was stopped. He tried to break free and run after her. The girl told him not to worry, that she would just look inside and come back. Mose was very worried about her. Kea came up and took the guy by the hand. She asked to give her 2 hours. If she doesn't manage to return during this time, then let him do what he sees fit. Having calmed down a little, Mose agreed. The boys bowed to each other, saying the words of swordsmen that the truth is revealed only to the sword. Mose watched her go inside. Immediately after that, the doors closed. The guy was bursting with the desire to turn everything upside down and smash the castle brick by brick. But he had to wait, because he trusted Kay. The girl entered the hall where the party was taking place, and the leader of their gang was keeping an eye on her. People were having fun listening to the music. Kea walked confidently among them. She looked around for those very people who had done this to her friends. A man approached her and asked if she was alone. It was the same drug dealer she had seen when she was with Lorade. The girl responded in a playful manner that she was alone here and that she was very interested. The man took her by the waist and offered to show her everything here if she didn't mind. Kea was furious and wanted to leave him without an arm, but she realized that it was too early. She pretended to like it and said it was very cute. The man smiled slyly behind her back. Searchlights burned from the tower into the night sky. Mose walked in circles and wondered when he should go. Finally, the guy noticed her and immediately ran up to ask if she was okay. The girl replied that she was fine, only her ears were a little numb. Kea said that the young man kindly agreed to tell them everything he knew. The drug dealer struggled on the ground, tied up, screaming to be let go. He asked the boys if they knew where he was from. Did they really think they could survive this? Mose hit him several times. The guy advised him to tell the whole truth, and if he lied, he would be in for a personal trip to hell. The man growled a little and realized that he would have to cooperate. He fell to his knees and begged for forgiveness, saying that it would never happen again. Mose showed the man the drug and asked if it was their doing. The dealer looked at the guy's sword and thought about what to say. Mose knew what he was thinking, whether he should just lie. The man immediately admitted that the Venetic is made by a guy named Jackson, and he knows nothing about its production. Jackson is a level 57 alchemist and he works for Director Choi. Ungtek is one of the companies of players. Lorad once told Key about them. The man tearfully said that he had told them everything he knew, and if this became known, he would be buried alive. He begged them to let him go. The boys, gritting their teeth, looked at each other. Kea turned around and started to leave. She said that they had found out everything they wanted and suggested leaving this bio-waste here. Mose agreed, and they left. The man remembered these two and promised that he would kill them. Mose stopped and asked if the guy had any raps. And so that the man would not think about revenge, the guy wanted to deal with him now. He just has to answer for everything he did. There's nothing special about it. The director sat in his office and waited for that man. The assistant reassured him that soon it would be theirs. The director poured a glass of coffee on his face. It was important for him to know when the man would arrive. Did his assistant really think he would get away with just making a vanitique? The director didn't understand why he had to wait so long for delivery. The man banged on the table and shouted that everything needed to be brought at once. The assistant offered his deepest apologies and said that he would order his guys to handle the delivery as quickly as possible. The director kicked the boy out, saying that all he could do was talk. He glanced at the other boys and asked what they were doing there. He took a glass bottle and ordered to leave immediately. The boys ran to the exit in horror. The director began to guzzle something from the bottle. 3 guys found a dealer near a tree, who kept repeating, "Thank you, sorry." The assistant leaned over to the man, showed him the flask and asked if he knew how much it cost. He covered his mouth with his hands and opened it, pouring in the potion. After this, the man started screaming and another asked what happened to him. He said that the half-elf and the player captured him. The guy asked if these were the ones Director Choi was talking about. It seems like these 2 left recently, which means they weren't far. The chief ordered to contact the rest of the people in the village and let them destroy everything in Azaris. The man declared war, saying that the guys would pay for everything. Returning to the city, Mose saw something terrible. All the houses were burning and people were injured. He didn't understand what was happening, but he knew that he wouldn't just let it go. Mose ran up to the girl and asked what happened. She pointed to the wall. It said that they needed to come to Trolltunga if they wanted to save the gnome. Mose realized that this was all because of them. Apparently, the pickup artist decided to deal with this village. Kia will not forgive them for this. She prayed for Lord Ediath. She promised to tear these creatures apart. Kia told the boy to come with her, because it was time for them to visit Trolltunga. On Scheme TV, the broadcast was hosted by Jihyun. He was with those to whom Forward to the Search would bring the holy treasure. Soon the Eye of New Humanity will show them its power. Suddenly something shocking happened. The holy treasure was now on the roof. Now they would see what it could do. There was a bright, blinding flash that was visible from all corners of the city. People watched and did not understand what was happening. Some symbols appeared in the sky. Jihyun tried to decipher them. It was written there that someone had comprehended all the secrets of this world. And they, the people, were about to see the greatest thing they had ever seen. Each player's popularity points will be revealed, and a rank will be assigned according to the number of points. Popularity will be added as a new attribute. People were excited that they would see hidden ratings. Around 43 million new popularity-related quests were discovered. A board with player ranks and popularity points appeared. In first place, of course, was Mose. In the Trolltunga Tower, the man also saw this ad. People were discussing the new ranking system. They were discussing the player in first place. It seemed like he had nothing to do at all. The man approached the director and said that the package had left. He heard that it was a bit wild, and it would take a lot of effort to tame it. The director leaned over and said that taming was his specialty and he could handle it. He also wanted to ask to bring someone else, but he noticed something. A half-elf entered the hall with another guy. Kia and Mose were determined. The director was delighted with the speed of delivery. He said that in real life the girl looks cooler than in the photo. He expected less, but here was such a gift. He didn't want to keep himself waiting. Choi ordered to drag them here. A man came up to them and introduced himself as Jason. He was the master of the Pickup Artist Guild. It seemed like the guys were having a good time with their guys. If they climb when they shouldn't, then now the man will show what this is fraught with. A crowd of men with knives rushed to attack, but the girl had to be left alive. Ungtek and Mose were given the status of potential enemies. The master received notifications about this and saw the guy's name. He realized that this was the guy, the most popular player. Mose mercilessly killed the attackers. He was determined, because he promised to protect Kaya. Jason couldn't believe he was the #1 ranked player here. He realized that it was time to leave, and this battle would not end well for them. Suddenly, he saw a beam of light streaming towards him. To protect himself from magic, he summoned a barrier. The beam pierced through and broke the dome. Jason couldn't believe that this guy managed to break his defense with one hit. But Moses' sword was of legendary rarity. While the man was surprised by this, a sword appeared behind him. Once he realized they were messing with the wrong guy, Mose fatally attacked him. Go's skill level has been increased. Mose was looking for that very director Choi Sopso, because he was the only one left. The director ran around the building, not understanding what was happening. I couldn't understand what the ranker was doing in that hole. The man got into his car and started it. Did Mose really think he would get away with it? Choi connected to the emergency security system. He ordered an immediate team assembly for security. He needed everyone. The car started and he went towards them. And if they didn't have time to prepare, Choi promised to rip their heads off. The director entered the building and several men bowed before him. One of them complained that he woke him up in the middle of the night. The man thought that the director was on drugs again. Choi ordered him to shut up because he was not going to listen to lectures. But he continued, saying that it would be bad if the president found out. The director grabbed the man by the tie. He ordered him again to shut up unless he had hearing problems. The man announced that the Information Guild had declared that pickup artists must be destroyed. But that was not the main thing now, because the company was on the verge of collapse for various reasons. If Director Pak could not figure it out himself, then his business partners would go to fertilizers one after another. Choi suggested that they solve the problem and stop pestering him. He also asked him to open the door. Director Pak ordered the others to stop anyone who tried to enter. Choi picked up something. It was for special occasions. And with this thing, even Mose could be defeated. It was a Reborn earring with a legendary rarity level. Mose and Kea arrived at the place where the director had gone. Director Pak ordered them to stop. They could not go any further. Mose told them to bring Choi Seopo to them themselves, and in that case they would remain alive. The director glanced at his assistant. The man opened the suitcase with money and offered to take a look. Pak asked what they thought about this, since it was quite a large sum. Kea told him to shut up. Choi Seopo must answer for all his actions because he made her friends addicts. Did they really think that they could buy themselves off with just money? Director Park asked if they had any evidence since they had made serious accusations. Because of the guys, their company could collapse. Mose ordered him to bring Choi Seopo quickly. Pak looked at him seriously and said that he had no idea who this guy was. But he should know his place. Why would the director go out and talk to people like them? But how would an NPC like a girl know this? Mose became furious and ordered him to shut up. He would make the man eat dirt if he said anything like that again. The men standing with the principal laughed and asked if the parents knew what the boy was doing, and if the problem got worse, if he could solve it legally. The director also talked about the game. One of the elder Azarus was on their side, and if Mose and Kea attacked, the boy could say goodbye to the scheme. Mose's legendary sword appeared in his hand, and he asked if the man was finished with his chatter. Pak didn't expect this. Mose declared war on Ungtek. The director was amused by this statement about war. Who did they even consider them to be? Suddenly, Kea attacked the man standing next to him with lightning speed. The girl swore by the god of blades that she would kill each of them. Kea attacked again, killing several. Her gaze was absolutely merciless. Director Pak turned around and saw Mose behind him. The man shouted at the boy not to get involved in this because he wouldn't be able to figure it out and would soon regret it. Suddenly, a fatal blow hit the man. Mose said that's exactly what Pot was doing. The man fell to the ground and screamed in pain. Did the director really think that he could fix everything because he could re-register? The man was deeply mistaken because there would be nothing left of their organization. The boy struck again. Director Choi sat in the closet holding the tied-up dwarf. He didn't want to do something, but it seemed like he had no choice. The man picked up a lighter. All evidence should have disappeared. Choi headed towards the wooden boxes. He threw a lighter at them, hoping that the player who had broken into the factory would be blamed for the fire. The investigation will be carried out by one of the elders of Ascarus. His name was the Swamp Sage. It was he who covered for them. Director Choi asked the detainee how he felt about this. Mose and Kea made their way inside the building. On the way, they met that same Choi. The man, with an inadequate smile, ridiculed the fact that the famous Mose had honored them with his visit, and with him was a sweet little face. He said that the elves that were brought yesterday were not half as good as her. The girl became furious and rushed to attack him. There was a flash that stopped her. Choi was surprised by her agility. The girl did not expect that she would not have time to attack. The man held the blade of her sword, adding that it must be cool for her to have a powerful weapon. But now it was his turn and he was about to damage her. Mose appeared between them and repelled his attack. This caused chaos in the city, and the local branch of the Information Guild began an investigation. They investigated everything from the attack in the village of Yesenia, ending with the distribution of Venetic, including the arson at the Ingtech factory. This series of events shocked the public, and because of this, the elders of Ascarus wanted to meet with the Information Guild. And then Mose and Kaya were named suspects in the Venetic case. The guy was shocked when he found out about it. They were the ones who caught Choi Seopo, but they were accused of making drugs. Kea said not to worry because they wouldn't be touched. People discussed that first they needed to find the channel through which the drug was distributed. Senior Kustov thought so too, but Senior Bolot was more concerned about arson. The judge banged his gavel and asked for silence. The floor was given to the eldest of the leaves. Before making a decision, he would like to hear from those who were in the building during the fire. Senior Bolot will ask the question first. The man thought for a moment. Mose didn't understand why he was looking like that. Senior Bolot asked what connected them with the pickups and whether they had set the building on fire on their orders. Also, if the man was not mistaken, these two were swordsmen. If the pickup artists were from that immortal guild, then Mose knew what to say. The guy admitted that they were swordsmen, but before he could finish his speech, he was interrupted. Elder Bolot said that swordsmen usually engaged in secret missions and asked if they were supposed to set fire to the Tech factory. Kia angrily screamed that it wasn't them who did it. The man threw the papers on the table, saying that he expected nothing else because for them, this mission was supposed to be a secret one. He thought that what happened was that two swordsmen were given the task by the pickup artist to set fire to the factory. Moses shouted that this was completely unfounded. But then Director Pak said that one of the senior Ajarus was on their side. As he assumed, the elder Bolot was him. The man spoke loudly about the attack on a resident of the village of Yasenya and asked if anyone knew who was behind it. People said that all the witnesses pointed to the pickup artists. Another man also heard. They say that all the attackers were from the same guild. Everyone around the guys was shouting that the pickup artists were to blame for everything and that they hired these two to set the fire. The pickup artists were preparing a venetic and needed someone who could distract attention from the public. Kia bitchily told them to listen. They had no right to insult the swordsmen because they would not tolerate such vile accusations. The elder replied that swordsmen always covered everything with their secrecy, even if it cost them their reputation. Charges were brought, but the two denied guilt only because they had no evidence. The man demanded that they be brought before the Barvid tribunal and insisted on the execution of the medium's magical sentence. People justified this by saying that the boys also had no evidence to prove their innocence. Mose did not understand what was happening. They have already been sentenced. How was this possible? Some man said that they really had no evidence. He only heard some fragments. Did these two really think that once they had discussed everything between themselves, the matter was settled? A man in blue entered the room. He said that he was in a hurry because the situation was serious and a special investigator was needed, but it seemed that they had decided to forget about the order of business. Mose did not understand who this was or where he came from. The guy found out that this man's name was Zeke. He was level 211. Zeke is the Platinum Guild leader of information. And while he was on his way here, he looked into the case. He can tell that a thorough investigation is needed. Zeke thinks it's too early to pass judgment, or perhaps someone had a good reason for rushing things. The atmosphere in the courtroom changed instantly. Everything was said briefly and to the point. It was very impressive. This person's level was very high, as was his position in the guild, so it was unlikely that he was a simple person, but why was he helping the guys? The elder Bolot became furious. He shouted that they had everything to bring a guilty verdict and there was nothing to discuss. Zeke approached Key and asked for evidence. The man continued to shout, asking if what they had done did not already prove their guilt. Zeke asked if the boys were currently on vacation. Kia replied that they had recently finished all their work and were given time to rest. He asked what the two were doing at the factory when the fire broke out. Was this how people were supposed to relax on their days off? Kia responded that a close friend of hers had been affected by the recent influx of venetic, so she began her own investigation. She learned that Ntek was covering for the pickup artists, so they went to chat with Choi Seo-po, who was at the origin of the nightmare that happened in the city, and later the guys found out about the fire. Zeke asked where the evidence was then. The girl replied that everything burned down. The elder continued to shout that they had no evidence and it was all fiction. Zeke told him to finally shut up. It was a pretty serious matter, so they weren't going to jump to any conclusions. Zeke thought that the swordsman needed to be questioned in more detail. At the request of his elders, he turned to a special investigator, but no one conducted an investigation. So now they have to start all over again. The elder Bolot hesitated a little and said that he agreed. All the other elders said that it all sounded logical. A man approached Kay and Mose and said that they were now heading to the Information Guild of Ajarus. Suddenly there was a loud sound and everyone turned around. A smile instantly appeared on the boys' faces. Lorad burst into the courtroom and said that he lived in the village of Yasenya and that he had been kidnapped by Choi Sofo and Director Ntek. He had valuable evidence for the special investigator. Mose and Kia were surprised to hear about some valuable evidence. Everyone in the room looked at Lorad. The elder Bolot was furious. He said that this was not evidence and that the man was late for the court hearing. He believed that they had already reached their logical conclusion. Lorad pulled back the clothing on his neck and showed the mark. Zyke immediately recognized the memory crystal. This was Lorad's contribution to the Lonbass tribe's war. The gnome installed this crystal to work for intelligence. The man touched the mark with his fingers and it lit up. Someone's voice began to play. This was a recording of a conversation with Director Cho before the fire. He said that investigators would focus on finding the cause of the fire, and one of Ajaru's seniors was on their side. Elder Bolot became even more angry and did not understand what was happening. The recording continued. It said that the Elder Bolot would be in charge of the investigation. All the other elders turned to look at the man in surprise. The final words were that the case promised to be interesting. Lorad repeated once again that he had been kidnapped, and then he wrote everything down. His kidnapping was revenge on their part, for the fact that his friends began to look for the person responsible for the production of Venetic. If he hadn't gotten out of there then, he would have been burned alive in the fire set by Choi Seopo. Zyke said that this definitely wouldn't work. Elder Bolot decided to deceive the special investigator and destroy the beautiful city of Askarus. The man could not find the words to justify himself. Zyke jumped onto the table in front of the Elder Bolot's face. 52,000 people have become addicted to the drug, and another 383,000 are under surveillance for suspected addiction. 110 people have already died, but more victims are expected. It turns out that the Elder Bolot is involved in this drug. Zyke promised to do everything possible to ensure that the man was put behind bars as soon as possible. He also said that all the military, knights, and guards involved would go there with him. Zyke turned around with an angry face. Mose and Kea looked at him in fear. Suddenly, a smile appeared on the investigator's face. He went down to them and asked for forgiveness for his behavior, that he did not immediately recognize the heroes of Askarus. He, as the platinum head of the Information Guild and a special researcher, closes the investigation into this case on behalf of all the elders. The Ungtech Company and the Pickup Artists Guild are involved in the production and distribution of drugs. As a result of their activities, many ordinary citizens have suffered. Swordswoman K's words were proven true, and all charges against her were dropped. Evidence was provided by one of the pickup artist's victims and Ingtech. Based on these, Zeke declared the swordswoman Kaya and the swordsman Mose to be the heroes who had made the greatest contribution to the investigation of this case. Mose's level began to rise. He received a title that increases stats in the same way as a unique artifact. His popularity increased, and a secret quest was completed. I carried out a number of seemingly simple missions and got excellent results. Following the incident, an article about the Incidents and Occurrences section, also known as IIP, appeared on the Scheme Master forum. The article immediately shot to the top and became hotly discussed. All because it said that it was Maz who exposed Engitech, and he is the most popular player and the owner of the ship of the Heavenly Ruler. Each player considered it necessary to speak out about what happened. The article was so popular that the site crashed due to the huge number of comments, and the moderator had to delete it. A lot of people gathered in the square. Mose began his speech by saying that people had always been extremely kind to him and had now come especially to say goodbye. The elders replied that they should thank him. They felt indebted to him, but did not know how to repay him. One of the older men asked for forgiveness for treating him badly, despite all his good deeds. As an apology, they prepared a small gift for him. It was a small gilded box. This is a thing that only the elders can possess since time immemorial. Even though it had been touched by the hands of the Elder Bolot, this did not diminish the sanctity of the relic itself. Opening the box, Mose saw that it contained a magic stone with a unique rarity, OL Intori. Mosey was surprised by the teleportation stone. He couldn't believe that he was actually worthy of such an amazing thing. It was just a small gift, considering how much the guy had helped their city. This gift expresses their respect and gratitude. Mose bowed and thanked. The boys set off on their journey, and people and elders wished them a good journey. The sky ship was sailing over the city. Mose and Kea looked out of the window happily. The two looked at each other, wondering where they would go next. A guy in the city was in danger. The master, dressed in black, killed him. The two swordsmen bowed before him. The master read the paper. He knew that the immortal had become a swordsman. They set off on their journey further, because they still had much to do. Sharon, exhausted, was tied to a pole. Kellyan's hands are tied to 2 posts. The boy hoped that Mose could find them. Kea asked Mose where they were heading next. The guy asked if the girl remembered his friend Sheeran. Ever since she disappeared with that mage, Mose hasn't been able to contact her. As long as the player was in an area they had visited at least once, Mose could establish contact with them. But there was only one blind spot left for him on the entire continent. Tikris is a city of entertainment and gambling, but also a city of contrasts. A splendor and glitter worthy of its reputation, and a dark side hidden behind the dazzling facade. Mose's ship arrived in the city. The crystal ball has saved the coordinates of this location. The boys walked along the pier. Mose noticed that the ships here were luxurious, that even the sky ship paled in comparison to them. Suddenly the guy heard some shouts behind him. Some guy was shouting that he had lost everything again and had lost all his savings. There were many people sitting in the alley playing games of chance. It was an arcade alley, that's what Lorad was talking about. Tikris is a beautiful yet brutal city where hope and despair live side by side. Someone came up to them and greeted them, asking if they were interested in arcade games. It was a little bunny named Foshi, a guide through the local alleys. He offered them a chance to win 1 Ormacon in exchange for 3 silver coins, the value of a game token. Mosey was very surprised that you can get Ormacons in arcades. Foshi explained that only one of all the machines has it in it, and all these people are trying to get it. But he said that there is no point in playing arcade games just for the sake of it. There is much greater wealth to be found here. Mose and Kia looked at each other in bewilderment. Foshi's paw was battered and bruised. Kia asked to give her 10 tokens. The bunny rushed to run after them. The girl thought that she could try to play once. This is where the Limpu children were exploited, and unfortunately they have no alternative. If you're a Limpu, you can't count on a normal job. They're just like half-elves who are sent to gladiator fights as soon as they learn to walk. Foshi ran quickly with a small bag of coins. The bunny handed them to the girl and wished her good luck. Before he ran away, Mose stopped him. The guy handed him a gold coin. Foshi couldn't believe that they were giving it to him for free. Mose replied that he thought he was very friendly, so he wanted to give him a gift for his warmth and kindness. But it is important that he does not lose it and uses this treasure wisely. Foshi thanked him and said that this would be enough to pay for his younger brother's treatment. The bunny thanked me many more times from the bottom of his heart and wished me a successful and bright journey. He happily rushed to run. Now he could check if he had run out of luck in his inventory. Mose knew he was going to lose everything. The guys reached the Tikris Information Guild. A girl met them and asked if they had contacted them recently. She said that she would now move them to the designated room. A small glow appeared. It looked quite magical. A moment later, they moved. The man looked up and said that they were finally here, and he was very happy to meet them. The man introduced himself as Viren, the head of the Tikris Information Guild. Viren asked the guys if they were looking for someone here. Kia replied that they needed an immortal mage and archer. The man said that an immortal, and also a magician, is a rather rare person, but there is information about one student of the White Tower who fits the description. It was Kellyan's student, a truly unique player. Immortals were not initially welcome in the White Tower, but Kellyan cast aside his player status and began to act exactly like them. He fit into their world perfectly and became a full-fledged wizard in his senior year at the White Tower. True, because of this, many magicians hate him. Mose wondered what the guy did wrong. Viren could very well find out where the mage was now, but first they had to do him a favor in return. Kia already thought she had misheard. The guild undertakes to disseminate information freely. The man said that was true, but the information was too special to be divulged to anyone. He would be extremely grateful if they would help him a little as payment. The guys agreed to listen to him. Not far from here, there is Mount Marlock. Its summit is crowned by ancient ruins known as the Olive Pass. Mosey must destroy all the ghosts that live there. The guy asked again. Varane assured that they wouldn't need magic and a simple sword would be enough. All the preparations have already been completed. All that remains is for them to show all their skills and abilities. Mosey didn't understand why the guild leader was suddenly making demands on the swordsman and refusing to give information. Kia was outraged because they couldn't waste time on this. But what's wrong if they agree? The guy thinks that this is more interesting than leaving for Aspergen and simply returning to the duties of swordsman. Kia suddenly shouted at Mose. The guy was a little scared and asked what was going on. He and Sharon are friends and worked on the same team. Does he really not care what happens to her because the guy is immortal? Mose thought for a moment. He just said something stupid that only a player could say, right in front of Kia, for whom this world is real. Normally he is a simple guy named Lee Kehoe, and here he is Mose, the #1 ranker in the world of the scheme. As time goes by, the gap between his two personalities becomes wider. The girl thought that Mose was at least a little different from other immortals. He was almost the only one who empathized with them. But he will still remain immortal, which means that one day he can easily adopt their usual attitude towards their world. However, she would like the guy to remain the same Mose she once met, even if it sounds too selfish. The guy looked down and said nothing. He asked her for forgiveness. It was stupid of him to say such a thing. He and Sharon are really partners and should help each other. Mose took Kay's hand and thanked her. The boys walked down the street holding hands. The guy promised her to always remain the same. Kia and Mose noticed something was wrong. Foshi stood all alone. The girl leaned towards him and asked if he was going home. The bunny's face was all covered in wounds. Kia rushed to him and began asking what had happened to him. Mose also asked to tell what happened and who did this to him. Foshi was afraid to speak and asked for forgiveness. The precious coin they gave him was taken away by Shaman. The hare told him that he had not stolen, but had earned it. But he said that he was not only a thief but also a deceiver, and that he should be sacrificed to the ghosts of Olive Pass. The boys were surprised when they heard about Olive Pass. They came to the place where Shaman lives. There were several guards standing near the entrance, but Mose knew they were no match for him. Shaman shouted into the crystal ball to bring him a person who would be of some use. He didn't care how they did it. They just needed to make sure he didn't die in a minute like the last one. Even though the interlocutor received the position of head thanks to the Society of Silver Cats, he counts their money himself. This month, we barely earned 4,000 gold. Shaman wanted to spread a rumor that there were already 10 Ormacons in the machines. The man wanted to kill half the workers in public so that they would learn a lesson. The guy sat under the stairs and watched. Kia started to run. The guy tried to stop her. Shaman immediately noticed someone's presence. Turning around, he saw a girl's fist flying towards him. The blow landed right on his face. Shaman did not understand what was happening and called the guards. The girl happily reported that the guards were no longer there. All his boys had fallen asleep or run off to lick their wounds. Kia prepared the final, most powerful blow. She was hitting the man again. Mose chose not to interfere. The girl apologized to the guy, saying that she just needed to let off steam. Kia suggested that Shaman go and chat for a bit. He had to tell what was happening at Olive Pass. After that, the man didn't even want to open his mouth. Kia became even more angry and wanted to throw a stone statue at him. Shaman shouted that there was a gambling place there, and that people were playing with ghosts at the pass. There is a society of silver cats. It consists of the city nobility. The necromancer hired by them sent a powerful ghost to Olive Pass, and it began to lure desperate fighters and immortals into battle. He promised a huge sum of money in case of victory. But so far no one has been able to defeat this ghost. It was impossible to hold out against him for more than 3 minutes. The girl grabbed Shaman, asking how many he had sent to their deaths for gold. Mose told her to calm down so he could hear the rest. But tomorrow everything should be different, because he was told that the strongest of the immortals would fight the ghost. Now it became clear how this is connected with the Information Guild. Kia couldn't believe that even the guild was in league with them. The girl wanted to teach the man a lesson once again. Mose told her to calm down. There was no point in getting their hands dirty. Shaman has already lost everything, because people will be unhappy when they find out that there are no Ormacons in the machines at all. When this news becomes public, he will be judged by the deceived citizens. The girl thought for a bit, but saw that there were still places on Shaman where she could hit. Now it was time for them to set out on their mission. Viren will regret dragging Mose into this. A massive library built by the elders of Ajarus to restore the lost history of the city of Olentori. This place is secret, and you can only get to it with the help of special magical stones made from the Avek tree. They had about half a day before heading to the pass. Mose thought about stopping by. The guy invited Ki to go with him, but she refused. Moreover, the stone was given only to him, and she, being a resident of Askarus, wants to follow the laws of the city. But the girl asked me to find her one book. It was called Kafer's Manstrel. A portal opened and transported Moses. Opening his eyes, he saw before him the beautiful Olentori library. The guy received a notification about the discovery of a secret quest. It was called The Diary of the Blacksmith Lavager. Lavager was a half-elf who suffered racial discrimination and persecution, but he had exceptional talent, and the 11 engraved swords he forged are proof of that. To find these swords, you need to find the blacksmith's journal. This man forged Moses' swords, meaning if he finds the diary, he will find a thread leading to the rest of the swords. The guy immediately wanted to go looking. Mose wanted to search the library using Siri. There was only silence in response. Mose couldn't believe he had to manually find it after searching through hundreds of shelves. Books flew one after another onto the floor. The guy was furious with the game because who gives quests to find a book in the open world anyway? Luckily, the books in this library were organized by sections, but there are hundreds of thousands of them, so the number of shelves is simply unbelievable. So you'll have to look at each book before you know where to look. Mosey didn't want to give up because he had endless stamina. He had less time, but he still had to try. With one hand, the guy took out another book. He finally found it. He found the diary of a humble blacksmith. The quest will open after using the item. As soon as Mose opened it, he received 5 quests at once. One of them said that one sword was hidden in the olive pass of Trixa. Mose was glad he was so lucky, because he might not have found it because he didn't want to dig through that sea of books. He was grateful to the girl who knocked all the arrogance out of him. Only to her could he be grateful. It seemed like Mose was on the right track, since everything was going so well. Now he just needed to find a couple more books for Kay. Mosey teleported back. He started calling the girl and looking for her. The guy noticed her sleeping on the couch. Apparently she fell asleep while she was waiting. Mose sat down next to her. She should have at least lay down on the bed. Looking at her face, the boy became a little embarrassed. He was sure that he liked her. But living in 2 different worlds, does he have the right to reveal his feelings to her? All this time he kept his mouth shut, because he demanded an answer from Kay. It was too selfish. But isn't the reason for this unrest that he takes this world extremely seriously? Mose wanted to pluck up some courage and tell, but Kia suddenly woke up. She asked how long ago the guy returned and whether it was worth waking her up. Mose gave her the book she wanted. The girl was simply delighted and held it in her hands for the first time. She thanked him sincerely. Kia was glad that Mose was her friend. The sun was already setting, which meant the time had come. The guys, having changed their clothes, were getting ready to set out. They needed to become good gamblers. It was already deep night. Horses pulled carriages through the forest. There were ladies and men wearing cat masks sitting in them. One woman walked through the barrier. Viren stood near the entrance and let in only those wearing cat masks. All the guests came here to place bets. To get in, Kaya had to get a mask and blend in. The girl watched one man from a tree. She jumped near him, and he was very scared. The girl tied the man up, stuffed cloth into his mouth, and took away the cat mask. After that, she had to bet 100 ormacons on Mose. Kia was shocked after hearing the amount. She didn't believe they could bet that much. Did the girl really think that Mose would lose? Of course, she believed that the guy would win. She could only believe in him. Mose had one way if this place really was ruins. Mose walked up to Viren. The man assumed that the guy in front of him was Mose. The guy agreed with this. Apparently, Viren was pretending not to know him. Viren said that he could come in. The participants were leaving in order of the queue. There were several more fighters in front of him. There were a large number of people sitting in the stands. The presenter greeted everyone. He began his show by saying that he saw passion in the eyes of the audience. This night, there will be a duel the likes of which these walls have never seen. Before them stood the champion of Olive Pass. With 31 wins and 0 losses, the evil spirit Sumyong. This is one of the most powerful spirits at the disposal of the Silver Cat Society. It was created from the soul of a swordsman who once decided to take a nap at Olive Pass. Paying for his stupidity, he is forever tied to this place, unable to free himself. And now it was time to welcome the new member. He was an immortal, fearless, and he took shooting lessons in the Blackest Spire, the great archer. Mose was also watching the fight. He didn't expect to see the other fighters also being players. They probably came here to hit the jackpot. Sumyon hasn't lost a single one of his fights. The battle will definitely be difficult. The battle began. The big archer did not waste time and attacked. The opponent easily reflected his arrows. Suman threw his sword up, not fearing the attack. This was the true skill of an evil spirit. Mose was shocked when he saw that his sword was coming back. It was one of the engraved blades. The big archer was in shock, his face filled with horror. Sumyong threw his sword at the big archer. The guy deceived the audience's expectations. He collapsed to the floor unconscious. Once again, the evil spirit Sumyong won. People from the stands shouted, "What did this stupid boy hope for?" Of course, they knew he would lose, but not so quickly. By the way, only 4 ormacons were placed on the great archer. A couple of nobles must have made a symbolic bet out of pure pity. Kia also observed this and thought they were crazy. It seems that Sumyon has a worthy opponent. Mose walked into the arena and pulled off his cape. People were discussing why the swordsman took part in this. Kia listened to the talk about how no one wanted to support Mose. The girl stood up abruptly and shouted out a bet of 100 ormacons. Those sitting next to her looked at her in surprise. Kia repeated once again that she would leave 100 ormacons for Mose. The guy made sure his suspension was in place. People thought that the girl was just a rich upstart who was not afraid of losing her money. Viren was delighted with her. The fight promised to be very interesting. Finally, the fight began. Mose used the Go skill. The presenter was amazed that the guy used a similar skill. It was very unexpected and exciting. His swords were aimed straight at the enemy. Suddenly, an evil spirit appeared behind Mose. He delivered a strong blow to the side. Mose didn't understand why physical attacks weren't working. Thanks to the item's passive skill, he wasn't chopped into pieces. Despite this, the battle continued to gain momentum. Mose used Go's skill over and over again. Only karma and charm can stop your fellow, the victim who attacks from a distance. But these swords are primarily designed for thrusting. Mose can't adequately parry his victim's slashing blows so often that he can only defend himself. Under these circumstances, he had no way to defeat the Phantom of Purification power, so he first needed to find a way to stop his sword, and the guy had the right skill for that. Lero, who was objectively not a serious fighter, gained the respect of the players not with his strength, but with the help of artifacts. If any items are found in the ruins of ancient dungeons, they can be enclosed in the sphere of lucky destruction. Perhaps this skill will work with a spirit bound to the sword as well. But to do this, you must first be able to touch the victim with your hand. Fear was evident on Mose's face. Viren was deliberately building up tension with his words. He felt sorry for the guy who bet on Mose. Kia was very upset. The guy needed to focus on the sword, not the ghost. He used Go's skill again, but Sumyong's sword pushed Mose's weapon away. It even hit the guy's body hard. Blood gushed from the deep wound. It was hard for the girl to watch the person dear to her suffer. The evil spirit raised his hand up, controlling the sword. The sharp blade was directed from above. The surest way to stop a victim is to let the sword enter the body. Mose took the heavy blow to the shoulder. The guy took the opponent's sword in his hand and used lucky resolution. Suddenly, the arena lit up with a bright light. The audience was shocked by this. The dust cleared and Mose was sitting on the ground. The evil spirit thanked another owner of the engraved sword. Finally, the guy could breathe a sigh of relief. In his hand was a small purple core. Mose lifted him up and happily said that he had won. Viren couldn't believe that Mose had defeated the undisputed champion who had never lost. People couldn't believe that they had lost their money. They immediately remembered the man who had bet 100 ormacons. The host announced that whoever bet on Mose would receive 231 ormacon. Viren had expected the guests to bet so much, but the money would still be circulating within the Silver Cat Society. They would get these ormacons back through other events. Soon the sun rose among the mountains. The man from whom Kea had taken the mask was still lying on the ground. Viren found him in the morning. He immediately realized that the one who had placed 100 ormacons was an imposter. The girl held a bag with their winnings in her hands. Kea was very nervous during the fight and asked Mose what kind of magic he used. He laughed and replied that it was an adventure. If that skill had not worked, it would have been the end of him. But since they succeeded, the girl suggested going and spinning the slot machine. The guy laughed and refused. He didn't want to get into something like that again. The Tigris Information Guild, having learned of the machinations of Varens and Shayaman, placed a bounty on their heads the very next day after the events at Olive Pass. However, they managed to cover their tracks, and the Silver Cat Society that stood behind Varens was not mentioned or investigated, as was the possibility of high-ranking officials being involved in this matter. However, the fugitives will not live a quiet life. Knowing the price on their heads and how much money the Silver Cat Society has lost, it is not hard to guess that mercenaries will not be the only ones hunting for Virens and Shaman. Kea and Mose arrived at the Tigris Information Guild. They were met by the golden head of the Tigris Information Guild, Rayron. He was happy to hear that the guys had solved the money problem. But these two came here to find out something. Mose replied that they were looking for two immortals, a male mage and a female archer. The boy had heard that immortal mages were a rarity. Rayron replied that this was exactly the case. This magician was a surprisingly well-known person, and it was not difficult for him to understand who was being discussed. They knew that he had teleported before disappearing, but they had not established the point of departure, and they were unable to do the same with the point of arrival. However, they discovered that a forbidden spell called Telop was being used inside the White Tower, which hides the teleport coordinates. Did that mean they could have been kidnapped while teleporting? Rayron said that if it wasn't him who used Telop, but someone else, then it was a kidnapping. But this is only a guess, and they cannot verify it. The man can only say that if there had been a murder in the White Tower, they would have heard about it. So all that is known is that he left the tower alive. They should visit the city of Lindavarun. At that time, several men were discussing that they should start already. One of them said that Sharon had already been asleep for 4 hours. They approached the magician to check if he had woken up. The guy looked up, exhausted and angry. Then he planned to teleport with Sharon to Toika's space. But as soon as I moved, I immediately realized that I had ended up in some other place. After moving, a man appeared behind him who also possessed magic. Kellyanne told Hossboy to stop right there. The guy said he would pretend he didn't know how he used Telep. The Hossboy raised his ominous gaze and asked again. The man hit the magician with a magical wave. Hossboy thought he was being impudent. Kellyanne was in pain. Apparently, the guy still didn't understand what kind of situation he was in. The man said that pride is a sin, sir, and now he will carve this lesson into his body. The man continued to bully the boy. Kellyanne had almost no strength left. He was still tied up. One young man approached Hossboy and asked if the boy was alive. He replied that this magician was immortal, and the most he had done was break his rib. Kellyanne tried to log out of the system, but he couldn't. The boy called Jaren Vale and Hargan and asked if they were afraid of his death. These guys always dreamed of catching up with him, because they themselves were worthless. They studied the same program, and if they wanted to blame someone, they should blame themselves first. They didn't put in enough effort, and they weren't even afraid to mock him just because he was immortal. Kellyanne shouted that these two were defaming the name of the White Tower. Hossboy said that he knows how the guy can speak beautifully, and for a whole year they had to wag their tails in front of the teachers while he simply talked their ear off. The man grabbed the boy's hair firmly. If the commission had known that Kellyanne was immortal, they would never have given him the title of magician. The man believed that this guy's mere existence had already tarnished the name of the White Tower, and then he pulled his head back. Hossboy believed that now was the time to tell them about the plan. They wanted to start with a girl. Kellyanne screamed that she had nothing to do with it, but judging by his reaction, you wouldn't know it. In the basement of this tower was a homunculus laboratory. The immortal could withstand a dozen experiments. This would allow them to better study the combat power of the homunculus. The man continued to threaten, saying that it would make a great graduate thesis. This fun will help them get the titles of magicians. The Hossboy ordered his assistants to bring something. 2 guys brought Declamus's kaleidoscope into the room. Hossboy wanted to make Kellyanne the key to the door to a new dimension. After all, no one knows yet what will happen if you open a portal with an immortal as a mediator. They will take one step in an as-yet unknown direction of magic. Kellyanne had a secret quest activated. Lundavarden was located on the continent of Aspergen, and for magicians it is a real shrine because in its very center rises the White Tower. Mose and Kia were standing near a large white tower, next to which was a beautiful fountain with a statue. At first glance, it was clear that this was a city of magicians. Even the architecture here was specific. There were some strange rings near the fountain. Standing on them, residents could move around. Some kid whispered in Mose's ear that this was a detour. Mose was very scared. The guy apologized for his sudden appearance and said that he didn't want to scare him. Lately, many people have been unable to find the Lundavarun Information Guild, so the guild itself sent this stranger to help them. The guy introduced himself as Zaire. He was an inquisitor. Zaire told everyone to follow him. Mose realized that this guy was incredibly strong and would probably easily match Lydorn. Mosey asked how he knew that Zaire was really from the Information Guild. The guy asked for forgiveness because he is always in a hurry and he is still studying. He wanted to start with the fact that he was a homunculus created by the mages of the White Tower and given to the Information Guild. The mark on his face was proof of that. Mose couldn't believe that the man in front of him was artificial. It is not easy to create life artificially, but the mages of the White Tower can do it. The city of Lundavarun was founded by magicians, so within its borders, citizens and guests of the city have the opportunity to freely use spatial magic. These bypasses are part of the city's infrastructure. A huge spatial stone underground allows travel without the use of a teleportation stone, and Zaire knows everything about them. If the guy becomes their guide around the city, then their doubts will surely be dispelled. The movement along the streets allows access only to public places of the city, and special routes are inaccessible to the uninitiated. In that case, they could begin. Everyone stood on the teleportation circle. The guys moved to the Lundavarun Information Guild. Zaire said to follow him because the golden head of the guild was already waiting for them. The Golden Guild Master confirmed that there was a teleportation incident inside the tower. Mose said that it was believed that it was impossible to get inside, and this was confirmed by the guild leader. The White Tower's territory is controlled by mages, so the Information Guild cannot interfere. Zaire gave the example that it is like a sanctuary for swordsmen. There is no other way to get into the White Tower except to pass the test of the mages. The man apologized that he could not give them another answer. The head of the guild left and disappeared into another room. After this, Zaire, after thinking for a bit, said that something could still be done. Money opens any door. This is also true for the White Tower. You can hire a magician who can enter there, Mose whispered, and asked why the chief said there was no way. The guide replied that it was extremely difficult to officially enter the territory of the magicians, and he's here to help them get in there unofficially. Zaire called someone on the crystal ball. He greeted Raiden saying that he had one request. He would like to introduce a boy to a magician, and he would like to do it quickly. The opponent replied that they should go to the southeastern building so that they could discuss everything at a decent meeting. Mose and Kia looked at each other happily. Now they had to go to meet the magician who would become their key. The boys approached the southeastern building. Zaire warned that it was important for them to understand that they needed to get out of the spatial stone zone. Someone shouted at the immortals to leave because they didn't belong here. Zaire pulled the hood over Mose and asked for forgiveness. This inconvenience would only last for a short time. People continued to protest so that the immortals would get out of their world and wanted to expel them. Mose lifted his hood a little and looked at the people. He realized that they were Litter Knights. They follow the will of the late Lydorn, and their strength grows day by day. According to the Information Guild, he has about 3 million followers, or rather, this is the number of those who openly express their position. To them, we can safely add tens of millions of residents of different cities who avoid players because of Lidornovites. Although, no, we were talking about hundreds of millions. Mosey the Immortal who killed Lydorn, so he should hide his face. Zaire suggested that they go somewhere else before they got into trouble. Mose walked away from these people in a depressed mood. Kia asked the guy if everything was okay. He replied that everything was fine, he just felt a little sick. Zaire called the crystal ball again. Raiden reported that there was a swordsman in the building now. A man who called himself a master arrived. The man didn't have time to finish speaking, and something started happening in the background. Everyone was horrified and worried about what happened to Raiden. A voice in the crystal ball said that he was looking for 2 swordsmen from Aspergun, Maruz, and Kea. Zaire was a little scared and asked why the master from Laoswan was looking for them. The escort asked if Mose and Kia had broken the rules of the swordsmen. Mose started shouting that it was impossible. If they broke the rules, the master would come for them. The master from Laoswan has no reason to pursue them. Now they will go to Aspargan and find out what the problem is on the spot. The boys asked Zaire if he would hand them over to the swordsman. The guy thought for a bit and said no, because in any case his job was to help them. Besides, Zaire trusts them more than the swordsman who attacked the Information Guild headquarters. Kia noticed something in the sky and said they would take a detour. Bright sparks flew from the top of the tower. They needed to leave immediately and use the bypass routes. Sparks flying from the tower fell to the ground and set everything around on fire. As they ran, Mose noticed someone. Not far in front of them stood a man in black clothes with a blade and a bandage over one eye. Finally, their meeting took place. The man was eager to see Mose. Kia and Mose didn't understand who it was. The man took the stone and said that he had found them. Behind him, 2 portals with people opened. Agjera, the Laoswan swordsman, and Larif, the Laoswan swordsman, answered the master's call. Kia was very surprised when she saw the master from Laoswan. It was his voice that came from the crystal ball. For a long time, the master turned a blind eye to what was happening in the Aspargan sanctuary. The man looked at Mose and said that this was the boy who killed Lydorn and became a folk hero. The prince was young and stupid, but he did the right thing, because he realized that the immortals were parasites in their world. The master took out a dark red blade, so they were going to do what they had to do too. Kia asked the Laoswan swordsman if they had any idea what the consequences would be. One young man asked the beauty if she didn't know that immortals mock and kill people for fun. His fellow swordsman died like a street dog, accused of breaking the rules. They took his place and hired some immortal. Was she hinting that they were betraying such a shameful organization as the swordsmen? They have been through a lot, keeping secrets and carrying out missions. These are the duties of swordsmen. These guys were the ones who maintained the world balance. The viceroy of Aspargan accepted into their ranks the one who upsets the world balance. Didn't she realize how disgusting it was? Kia shouted for Laoswan's swordsman to stop insulting Aspargan. The master replied that this was not an insult, but a statement of fact. The one who remains alive today will be right. The man, without a second's hesitation, immediately pounced on Mose. The boy summoned a Tory's sword. thereby stopping the master's dagger. But the blow was too strong, it knocked Mo's back. The guy didn't expect such strength and coughed up blood. Agera used the first style of showdown and tried to attack Kaya. The girl somehow dodged and jumped back. The guy warned that this was not all. The next attack was an aura strike. At that moment, Zaire ran up to her, using his magic to stop the blow. Larif told Ager to step aside. The boy used his ability and sharp spikes appeared along the ground. One of them wounded Zaire's face. The boys ran up to him. Kaya asked Mose if he was okay. The guy replied that he was fine, but they had to save Zaire. Zaire said that the three of them could defeat these two. But they will never defeat that swordsman here. Zaire said that they had to leave immediately. The guy would lead the two of them to a detour. His magic will only delay them for half a second, but that's enough to prevent them from tracking where they've moved to. Zaire will have a chance to create a passage for them. Only Larif damaged his eye. Now it will take about 3 minutes to prepare the spell. Once everything is ready, Kay and Mose will need to try to keep their leader away from the detour. When Zaire freezes the master, they will run towards the passage as fast as they can. Kia wasn't sure they could do it all in half a second. Zaire replied that if they were attacked head-on, they were finished. The master came up and said that the guy was not bad for a homunculus. The scientists of the White Tower did not sit idle. The earth around began to shake. A bright glow began to emanate from the roof of the White Tower, and everyone noticed it. Mose asked the master if this was his work. He replied that he did not know about the affairs of magicians and it was quite possible. But wasn't that outbreak because of the immortals? Everything strange in their world started happening after their arrival. Mose asked why the immortals were treated like that. Maybe they had something personal with them. The master asked again and smiled. 17 years ago, he, a young swordsman, was tasked with protecting a village in the Gara Mountains. Then he too realized the importance of their work. For a long time they had worked hard and had done their duty with honesty. But now the inhabitants of that village were dead, killed to the last man. This is all because the immortals decided to turn that place into a base for their guild, and the inhabitants were driven out of the mountain, teeming with hungry trolls. The master himself saw it, and knew that immortals are greedy worms devouring this world. The man believed that swordsmen should destroy people like him and not accept them into their ranks. Such a thing is absolutely unacceptable. Kia walked over and covered Mose with her arms. She said that the master was absolutely right. With the advent of the immortals, problems came into their world that they had never known before. It cannot be denied that they upset the global balance. But that immortal at whom the master now pointed the sword is Mose. He fought against evil, protecting the inhabitants of this world more than anyone else. The girl continued to say that the master was blinded by anger, and they did not even want to understand the situation. His judgments were extremely biased. The man replied that there is nothing more senseless than fighting for ideology. Only the one who survives can be right. Mose shouted for everyone to attack. Kia ran in front and Mose used the go skill. Two swords quickly moved towards the master. The man deftly and unceremoniously pulled out his blade and was about to parry the blow. Kia wanted to sneak up closer and attack as well. But the master noticed it immediately. Mosey immediately reused Go's skill. The master hid the blade and changed his stance. Zaire shouted at the girl to move aside. This was Perrault's 7th style. A dark dome appeared on the square. It began to grow, swallowing up houses. Kia was too close to him and tried to run away. Mose and Zaire tried to see through the rising dust what was happening. The girl fell to the ground. The master was walking towards her. Zaire used his magic and froze the man. Now was the time to act. The countdown began. They tried to make it to the teleport. Mosey somehow managed to run there. Turning his head, he saw that Zaire could not. The master wanted to attack again. Mosey, despite everything, covered Kay with his body. His health level was 3%. The girl cried and couldn't believe what had happened. The guy told Kay to leave here immediately. Mose promised that he would find her, come back, and definitely find her. She needed to survive no matter what. The girl immediately started running. The boy grabbed the blade of the man's sword with his hands. The master should not forget that his opponent is still Mose. The guy immediately used the go skill. The master pulled the blade out through the top to repel the attack. Mose fell to the floor unconscious. But they still missed one thing. The master told his charges that they should go. Mose's health was at 0% and he died. He will not be able to log in for the next 7 days. 7 real-time days equaling 21 in-game days. The guy got out of bed with a scream. He tried to catch his breath after that. The guy immediately ran to the toilet because he felt very nauseous. His death in the game also affected his real physical condition. He was worried about whether Kay had managed to escape. He hoped that she had reached the heavenly ruler without incident, because she would be safe on board. Then she would return to the sanctuary, and everything would be fine, because Master Robin was waiting for her there. However, 3 weeks will pass in the scheme, and who knows what can happen during this time. Perhaps he will never even see Kay again. Even 3 hours after leaving the scheme, Lee Kehoe couldn't stop thinking about Kay and Master Ginir. Ginir understands that Mose as an immortal will definitely return, and he will find him again. Then today's situation will repeat itself. It is even possible that he will methodically kill Mose after each activation. Lee Kehoe knew that he needed to become stronger enough to be able to defeat Ginir. It's morning in the game world. The girl and the rabbit asked the knight if he was okay. He replied that they should not worry, swearing by the name of Bellica. He would escort them to their destination safe and sound. The girl said that it sounded very self-confident. She didn't think the guild would be able to deal with such a problem. The White Tower was still shining brightly. The girl asked if the knight wanted to return. He replied that it seemed like they could use some help. The rays fell with enormous force on the surrounding area. From one of these, a certain creature began to emerge. Its sharp blades finally opened a passage to the world they so badly desired. It was a huge monster with a large body, horns, and fangs. Inside the White Tower, a bright light streamed upward. Kellyan shouted at Hossboy, asking if he even understood what he had done. He took it and opened a passage to another dimension where the owner lives. The Hossboy replied that apparently a portal had opened. Only a gate had appeared here, but it was he who had created the inventory that they were using. Kellyan gritted his teeth and said he was a complete idiot. It is not just an empty dimension where you can put things in and take things out. Hossboy took his staff and wanted to hit Kellyan. The guy shouted at him to shut up because he succeeded. Kellyan wasted no time in grabbing Hossboy. He took the staff that the boy had dropped and pointed it at Hossboy, beginning to cast a spell. A shockwave was directed at him. These kids simply couldn't compete with real magicians. Kellyan, remembering Sharon, immediately ran up to her. He raised the staff to her face and recited the spell. Sharon opened her eyes and tried to understand what was happening. A second later, she panicked because she didn't remember anything at all. Kellyan apologized and explained that a lot of time had passed since then, and he would tell her everything later, but now their goal was to get out of here. The White Tower began to shake. The boys rushed to run because they didn't have time, and they needed to hurry. Sharon asked if the guy's name was Kellyan. He saved her in the battle with the Lidornians. The girl thanked him. Kellyan asked him to stop because it was because of him that they fell into the clutches of that scoundrel and ended up here. The guy told her that she had been unconscious for almost 10 game days. Sharon was very surprised. The teleporter that Kellyan used turned out to be a fake and brought them here. Then magic worked, which put them to sleep. But the guy knew the way, so she had to follow him. They came to the arch, and it was him. Kellyan asked Sharon if she was afraid of heights. The girl asked why he was asking, because she was afraid. But even if that were the case, there was nothing to be done. Kellyan took the girl in his arms. The guy confidently jumped forward. Sharon screamed at him to stop because there was a stone wall in front of them. There was a flash after the collision. Opening their eyes, they flew down from the tower. Sharon was very scared because they were falling straight down. A moment later, they had already landed. Kellyan explained that they teleported to Toiko. It was safe here. The guy had a lot he wanted to tell her, but they had better say goodbye here. Kellyan said he thought she should log out too and take care of herself in the real world. The girl thought that this was true because she had not been in touch for 3 days. Perhaps someone had already notified the police and they had broken into her place. Sharon was about to go, but Kellyan stopped her. The guy said that he made sure that nothing happened to her while she was sleeping. But if any side effects appeared, then she definitely needed to contact him using the crystal ball. Kellyan would be glad to see her again and asked for her sincere apologies for getting her into this mess. Sharon couldn't understand why the guy kept apologizing. The master of another world said that they were born to conquer and colonize. Their deity has entrusted them with a new task. This task was to subjugate another world. Many similar monsters were going to conquer it. They advanced with great force, swinging their swords. There were so many of them that it was simply impossible to count them. A random Manchu quest was discovered. In the vicinity of Lundavarun, the justice forces had only 300 people. The man said that their 300 were far superior in power to their 2,000 imperial army. The captain replied that he knew nothing about how strong their army was. They had homunculi at their disposal, which were essentially weapons. But we must not forget that this weapon was created by magicians. But then why shouldn't he tell them with the help of this vaunted magic who crossed the border of worlds here? All they could find out was that since the portal opened, several hundred scavengers had come to them. The man, to tell the truth, wonders himself whether the problem is so serious that it was necessary to even involve the forces of justice. But an order is an order, and they cannot challenge it. The scavengers were on the offensive again. The captain of the royal army told the first squad to go forward. The men took up their spears and went into battle. The captain noticed that something was wrong. They said there were several hundred, but there were much fewer of them, and on top of all that, they looked somehow strange. One knight asked Mr. Bed to come to him. He reported that there were some strange wounds on the bodies of these monsters, and these were not from their weapons. The captain couldn't understand what it was, whether the immortals had intervened. The knight said that it seemed like the scavengers were running away from something. Suddenly, they turned around because they noticed something. A huge crowd ran out of the field. Lord Bed ordered the warriors to be ready for battle. They were huge monsters that came from another world. Their leader ordered to kill everyone. The commander ordered the second detachment to replace the first. The homunculi had to build barricades and block the enemy's path. The huge trolls attacked the knights mercilessly. One of them, even with a deep wound, became enraged and scattered the warriors. They struck the ground with their fists one after another. The magicians called for a shower of stars. Portals opened in the sky from which rays rushed. Even despite this, the trolls still got up and went into battle. The captain did not understand what kind of creatures had come into their world. There were too many of them. It was the Watchtower Player Guild. They were ranked 7th in the official guild rankings. The man became furious when he realized that they were immortals. Immortals are those who are not afraid to die, so even in the face of mortal danger, immortals rush to the goal without a hint of fear, which poses a great threat to all those who are forced to earn status and glory through sweat and blood, trying not to die in battle. This is especially true for mercenaries. However, in the event of a threat of real defeat of the Imperial Army, the intervention of the immortals was only to their advantage, although it hurt the pride of the fighters. The girl and the rabbit watched as the trolls advanced again. The rabbit was very afraid. The girl reassured him, saying that they had a knight boyfriend. When the saint gives him her answer, all living beings will receive infinite power and the ability to defeat darkness with light. The knight stood in the circle and read prayers. The knight approached the trolls and asked if they had come out of that portal. Their lives may be the key to resolving the conflict, so they should not expect mercy. The knight did not know where these 1.5 million came from, but these creatures are undoubtedly a threat to the entire world. It's sad to say, but they will all die at his hands. The trolls thought he was just a cheeky youth. He was dust under the feet of trolls and talked a lot. One of them wanted to shoot from a bow, but the knight disappeared. A moment later, he saw this guy's weapon in front of him. The knight didn't care about their feelings. He killed everyone. The other monsters understood that the boy was strong. It was at the level of 1,000 seals. The knight realized that the 1,000 seals were their rank designation. The trolls won't have to go, and the guy will let them prove their existence themselves. The players discussed that if they continued in the same spirit, they would soon receive a cross-share. In that case, it would be better to wait for other guilds to join and then start a full-scale war. The girl shouted to Helm that Lebekan was returning again. Helm realized that the wave volume had decreased a little, and he had already warmed up. The guy shouted for everyone to get ready. They were using the same tactics as before. The priests were supposed to provide support to the front line. They needed to stop this wave and not die. Suddenly, Helm saw something and was horrified. It was a huge dark wall. Everyone was horrified by this madness. The chief ordered those who had the intelligence crystal to show the image. One guy raised the crystal up. He showed that it was a wall. It seemed like the attackers were planning to break through to the gates of Lundavarun. Only the back wall was lower. Didn't they have enough magic? But it was an enchanted wall after all. The boy suggested going back to the castle and waiting for them to come, and then attacking from behind. These creatures probably came up with such a strategy to distract the maximum number of troops at the gates of Lundavarun and enter it. But in any case, in order to enter the gates of the castle, they will have to leave the barrier. Thus, you can clamp in pincers from the sides, aiming at the cracks. After all, this game is always a strategy. The watchtower will take command of the troops to the left of the gate. Helm spoke into the crystal ball to take the troops of each guild to the right of the gate behind the wall, and the archers should be concentrated in the rear. The army's walls were very close to the castle. The boys didn't understand what kind of magic it was. It was higher than the walls in Lundavaruna. When the walls open, they should act. Soon the walls opened, but no one came out of them. Black smoke began to emerge from the castle walls. Inside the darkness, many glowing eyes could be seen. Trolls emerged from the black smoke. The whole army looked up in horror. Trolls jumped out of the black magical walls onto the castle. Moses' sky ship flew among the clouds at night. Kia held the book that Mose had brought her and cried. Elsha asked the girl if everything was okay with her. Kia was sad because Mose died because of her. At that moment, all she could do was run away. Elsha replied that her master was immortal, and for Kay's sake, he would overcome death and return. That's why she wasn't so shocked when his comrades died. But for some reason, the girl can't take Moses' death so calmly. Elsha said that thoughts like these speak to how important Mose is to her. Kia wanted to someday give Mose the words written in the last chapter of the book, The Mistress of the Pulpit. When the boy returns, Kia will definitely tell him them. The girl turned to Elsha. She asked to turn on the light because Ki needed to go somewhere. In the real world, Lee Ki-ho decided to go and get a new hairstyle. The guy was surprised that he spent 130,000 won for a haircut that took less than 10 minutes. He didn't think he would spend money on this. Today he went to spend money. His 1 death in the scheme and 3 days in reality. Only when the game was blocked, Lee Ki-ho was able to enjoy his luck. After all this, he moved out of his cramped apartment and signed a lease for a nice apartment. He gave his parents 10 million won each. He didn't even think about things like a penthouse or an expensive car. Now he has enough tokens to buy all the things he wants. But he had his own reasons for spending so much. It's been a long time since the guy started playing, and the average level of users has also turned out to be quite high. As the average player's stats increased, quest rewards began to decrease, making it more difficult to earn tokens. The real value of one Ormicon token was close to 180 million. Last night, Lee Ki-ho exchanged 2 tokens. Now he has 137 left. Due to the high prices, there were also restrictions on volumes. He didn't need to spend more than he needed, so the guy decided to keep the remaining tokens for now. Suddenly, someone called Lee Ki-ho. The voice on the phone greeted the gentleman and asked which house he had moved into. He thought it was in the scheme, and the guy moved to such a place. Lee Ki-ho said that his father's work had been going well lately. The caller suggested throwing a housewarming party. The guy replied that he didn't even have a refrigerator at home yet, and he would call when he got settled. Lee Ki-ho was so carried away by the world of the scheme that he forgot about everyone. The sense of reality gradually began to return. Maybe what happened is a little good for reality. Walking past the projector, the guy noticed the news, which talked about the completion of the Manchu quest. At present, more than 12,000 Lebekan have been destroyed. Considering the original number of Lebekan at 1.5 million, their damage can be considered a catastrophe. The good news was that very high-level players were still actively participating in the game, and the future looked positive for this quest. However, the city of Lundavarun was half-captured due to superior enemy forces. Mose could not believe that Lundavarun had fallen. The floating ships evacuated the inhabitants of the city one by one. Now it was time to talk about the latest news. The Horus, one of the famous floating ships, tried to leave with about 360 surviving NPCs on board, but was eventually sunk. The host asked if viewers remembered one of the most famous users named Mose. He also attracted attention because he was the only user with a ship. According to an eyewitness account, the golden ship, presumably belonging to the user Mose, also appears to have been destroyed. The guy was in complete shock. It's a shame that almost the only user ship was destroyed. The guy returned home and tried to enter the game world again. He was annoyed that he couldn't connect. Mose hoped that Kea would be safe in the shelter of the heavenly ruler. The guy kneeling asked to be connected to the game world. Lee Ki-ho prayed that everything he said was not true. Kia told Elsha that she thought she heard Moses' voice. Elsha reported that they had crossed Mount Langaroo and asked the girl if she was looking for something there. Kia wanted to try to find the person. This man was the master of the sword Aspergen. At that time, black smoke was coming out of the player's guild castle. The leader reported that Jisung and Yeonju were hurt. The further we went, the more vicious the attack became. Even some monster was level 96. Helm didn't understand why only the small guilds continued to fight, while the corporate guilds simply fled in disgrace. This could not continue any longer. So the man suggested forming a group of 10 people and returning to the portal stone. Suddenly, something knocked one of the knights off his feet with great force. It was a surprise attack again. They were throwing spears at people from afar. These monsters were too resourceful. The guild tanks were caught off guard. The army tried to defend itself by covering itself with a shield. Helm said to use the portal stone to return first, the rest will buy him time. The players said they will meet in 7 days after they fight along. Did they really think that dying in the scheme was the same as dying in the game? But with them, he would gain more time. The ship still brought NPCs from Lundavarun. Their guild had many opportunities to be active. The entire guild army advanced forward. Suddenly the monsters rose up, gradually dying. This was done by that same unknown knight. The girl who was on his team approached him. She asked if she needed to help him, and he replied that it was absolutely right. The knight mercilessly killed the monsters one after another with each passing moment. The players' guild looked on in horror. The players asked the girl on his team what level the guy was, and she replied that he was 84. If you add all sorts of bonuses and equipment to all this, his level will be around 200. Starting at level 60, the difference in stats per level increases greatly. Helm is level 15, 9 levels higher, but that's a big difference. The higher the level, the harder it becomes to level up, but that's close to level 200. Someone like him can never compare to this monster. The unknown people were discussing that they had a new problem because after this guy joined, the Watchtower's share reached 2%. Only Manjak is capable of something like this. The guy asked Khan what he thought and saw. The Khan used the Eye of Orod. This guy watched the night fight. The buff should end soon. Finally, the Lebekins began to retreat. The guild members thought they were going to die here. One guy, just watching the fight, leveled up by 2. Helm approached Manjak. The guy thanked him and said that after completing the quest, he would give him his share. Manjak replied that everything was fine and he was just minding his own business. If it weren't for him, his guild would have been destroyed long ago. Helm's greed for a share will make him an unworthy guildmaster. The knight replied that it was a good guild. The way they fought without hesitation and sacrificed themselves was sublime. Helm was a little embarrassed. Due to Manjak's manner of speech, the guy could not understand who he was. A user or an NPC. Helm asked if he was a member of the guild. As can be seen with the naked eye, Manjak was a knight and belongs to the Knights of Kolin. Their symbol is the smoky flower. This was the first time Helm had seen a user who belonged to the Knights Order. At first, he also wanted to become a knight, albeit for a short time. But in this game, where all 5 senses are involved, physical training is more intense than in a real army. Knights also have a strict daily routine that influences real life. They were tested for loyalty and righteousness. Having heard the difficult conditions, he simply went for pumping. But this does not mean that other pumpings in the scheme are easy. And this man went through this whole difficult process. Helm told Manjak that he was cool. Suddenly, the knight felt something, and covering the boy's body, shouted to him to lie down. A moment later, a large explosion occurred behind them. Manjak couldn't figure out what kind of attack this was. The buff time was over, and it would be difficult to handle. The players thought that the Lebekins were attacking again and ran up to Helm. When the dust cleared, an almost clean-shaven man emerged from behind it. In his hands, he held some kind of bright yellow-red ball. He asked if the guy was Manjak's nemesis. The man felt sorry, but he had to get the knight out of the system. In the real world, Sharan proved on the phone that she had been asleep in the game for 10 days. It would be nice to contact Mose, but should she write to the scheme management about it now? Sharan's real name was Kim Soo-hyun. When she heard that Mose's ship had crashed, she felt like her heart sank, but it was misinformation. The girl on the phone told what happened in the White Tower. Kim Soo-hyun was going to try to reconnect to the game right now. She needed to figure out what was going on, so she needed to figure out what Mose was doing. Uncle hopes to see them again soon. 2 days have passed since that conversation. 7 days have passed in reality, and 21 days have passed in the game since Mose died. He has acquired so much in real life that he no longer needs it, but most importantly, he has lost it. It was already late, but it was time for him to return to where Mose had received everything. Next to Lundavarun, in the hall, they were discussing Mrs. Bellica's dream. She dreamed of an immortal being resurrected in their temple. One said that he did not believe it, because this temple was so small that it could hardly be called a chapel. Resurrection of the dead is something that can only happen in a large place like the Aspargan Temple. Suddenly, a bright light appeared behind the priests. In their temple, Mose was resurrected. A few seconds later, the guy came to his senses. His body was quite light. He felt a sense of new rebirth. The priests immediately ran up to him and believed in Mrs. Bellica's dream. Mose asked if all immortals were resurrected in such temples. One priest replied that resurrection usually took place in large temples. Although it is called Sunday, it appears with a flash of light, so they can only say that it is a miracle. It was a miracle given by Bellica. They asked to let the lady protect Mose in this life. The guy smiled a little at these words. Now it was clear what to do to avoid dying. I needed to become stronger. But before that, Mose wanted to find Kay. The boy thought the celestial ruler had collapsed, but Kaya may not have died. If so, she is still in Lundavarun. Mose begged her to stay alive. At this time, near the guild castle, Manjur asked the guy who arrived who he was. He was sure that he was not here to complete a quest. The guy asked if he was attacked first. Shouldn't he come over immediately? Or perhaps, now without buffs, the knight became afraid. Manjur agreed with this. Now, as the boy wished, the knight rushed to attack. The man replied that if he waved something heavy like that, it would become slow. Suddenly, he felt a sharp pain along his entire arm. The players watched their fight. Helm knew that this guy was no match for Manjok. The man was furious. Everywhere he was sure that he had dodged the blow. The knight suggested continuing. Some people approached them and asked if the man couldn't cope alone. One girl was curious about how the guy raised his stats to get such crazy power. The man shouted at the three boys not to laugh at him, but to do something with his hand. One guy told Kana to help the man. The girl put a sacred leaf of grass to her hand, which Armaz's hand had touched. The wounds on the arm immediately disappeared. The man thought that Kana was a really good healer. The girl shouted that it was a waste of mana. Manjok asked them who these guys were. One guy said that their acquaintance was delayed because of this impatient guy. They were hunters, killers, assistants, and so on. These are a kind of professionals who provide the necessary services for money. When they take an order, they just carry it out. Manjok immediately started asking how it was connected to him. The guys replied that it had almost nothing to do with him, but he intervened. They asked Manjok to stop doing this quest. The boy didn't understand why he had to do this. This disaster affected the entire world of the scheme, a situation they had to work together to overcome. But the hunters were not concerned with such noble reasons. Large guilds are waiting for personal requests from self-employed scheme owners who have suffered from this quest without any interference. Its appearance is a hindrance to them. Manjok said that the disaster that just happened can be overcome now, but these guys intend to drag it out. The players knew they were in big trouble. Helm shouted that the small guilds, including them, had been fighting to the death for several days to evacuate the people of Lundavarun, and half of his guild had died, and these guys just stood there and watched. If they had intervened, Lundavarun would have remained intact. The hunter replied that this should be told to the major guilds personally. After all, money is important in any world. Since everyone was about to die, they needed to feel reality. The hunters began to attack. Everything around was burning and there was real chaos. Mose, seeing all this, could not believe what had happened to Lundavarun. In one of the houses sat a little boy hugging a rabbit. He was very afraid and trembling all over. They saw how the monsters found them. Suddenly, Mose appeared out of nowhere and killed them. He approached the boy and the rabbit, asking if they were all right. Mose said that he would continue on his way and that they should go quickly, straight to the castle gates. They immediately rushed forward to run. If the guy were with Kia now, she would definitely tell him what to do. But right now he can say for sure exactly what he needs to do. The leader of the hunting team began to attack the knight. Manjok, having just managed to dodge, saw a girl behind him. She managed to slightly graze the knight's body with her sword. He kicked her aside. From above, he saw a man attacking him with a red-hot ball. Then there was an explosion from the activation of the ball. As soon as the dust cleared, a hunter was heading towards Manjok. He dealt a large number of blows with a sharp sword. Manjok could not stand it and fell to his knees. The boy turned to the knight, saying that he was sure that Manjok's mace was quite heavy. But due to his carelessness, the hunter ran into her himself. Suddenly, some chains bound the knight's hands. Some man shouted that he had finally caught him. But suddenly, an arrow shot through his head. Helm came to the knight's aid. The boy screamed at these pathetic cowards to be damned. Were they really going to play the game like this? Helm informed Manjok that he did not need to worry about his sister and Limpu. He evacuated them to a safe place. The guy wanted to open a flask with a potion to heal the knight's wounds, but there was wine in it. Manjok shouted at him to get out of here, because these guys' target was him. The chief of the hunters came up to them and said that Helm had shot an arrow into the head of one of their friends, and now he couldn't just get away. He should have left when he had the chance. Hunter will make sure these guys are both logged out, then they won't be able to reunite. Manjak appreciated their offers but refrained from contact outside the game. The hunters did not want to waste time and began to attack. Helm was ready to defend, standing behind the knight. Suddenly, everyone started receiving messages about the quest Azure creatures, and the number of monsters killed increased. No one could believe that the number of dead was increasing by 1,000 every minute. The girl shouted to the guildmaster that they had to stop this first. The boy shouted to Manjak that he was very lucky and he hoped that next time they would not run into each other like this. Helm shouted that they were uniting because they were too weak on their own. At that moment, the knight fell to the ground. The boy ran up to him and asked if everything was okay. Manjak is unsure who he should thank, but the guy is right that they are very lucky. In the city, monsters were burning in fire. Mose activated Solar Fury. He had 50% health remaining. The guy remembered his first meeting with Kay. He remembered his first training session with her. And he remembered the last happy moments when he gave her a book. Mose screamed at the top of his lungs. Despite everything, he killed these Azure creatures. Even if he does, the guy will never get Kay back. But that's exactly why he can't leave the monsters alive. Mose used the noxious flame. The solar storm raised up and burned many monsters. In the southern region of Lundabaran, players watched as the number of monster deaths increased. They couldn't figure out which guild was doing this so quickly. The window showed a projection of the battle. Everyone saw that it was not a guild, but one player. The players shouted in delight that it was Mose, who occupied the first place in the prestigious ranking. They watched Moses fight intently. One knight shouted that now was not the time to admire. They could not just stand there and had to go there. The army rushed to help. Moses' attack left behind a trail of huge flames. The guy felt a strange sensation as if his body was burning. When using sword skills, Atoria creates a fiery zone, dealing 113 damage per second to nearby enemies within a 150-meter radius. In addition, this fire deals 183 fire damage per second to the user. This means that the regenerative characteristics are useless. Mose knew he couldn't hold out much longer given his health. A new wave of monster army was advancing. The guy was ready to eliminate them all before he died. With each passing moment, the mortality rate of the trolls increased. One of them had a bow with him. He shot straight into Moses' body. The guy had 12% health left. During all this, he got hit. Mose wanted to use the solar storm skill again. He didn't have enough strength and the fire died out. The guy fell to the ground. This is nothing more than a breath of fresh air. This is what he came back for. The monsters looked up, noticing the flying ship. Someone jumped out of it and landed on the ground with a big bang. Instantly, the unknown person dealt a sharp blow to several monsters at once. It was an unknown old man. A familiar ceiling always greets him when the boy opens his eyes. Or rather, an unfamiliar one since Mose moved into a new house. And everyday life in the real world to which he must return. There is no point in continuing to live in a vicious circle because Kay is no longer with him. But when he opened his eyes, Mose saw another place in front of him. It was the heavenly ruler. The guy couldn't understand how he ended up there. Kia ran up to him with tears in her eyes. Mose immediately jumped out of bed, not believing that it was really her. He immediately hugged the girl tightly. The guy was glad to see her alive. Kia asked what was wrong with Mose's face. The guy, hanging his head and crying, said that he missed her. The girl stroked Mose's cheek with her hand. She also replied that she missed him terribly. After that, the guy told everything that happened to him and why he thought she was dead. Mose wanted to kill as many of them as possible. And then he passed out from the solar rage. The guy asked if she saved him in the middle of this army. Kia was going to tell him this as soon as he woke up. She wanted to introduce him to someone. While Mose was unconscious, the quest was almost completely completed. The big guilds started to interfere. The owners of legendary items from each guild possessed enormous power. After this, the tide of the war changed in their favor, because the players they had to fight were immortal. No matter how fierce the waves were, they rushed forward. 21 days later, all the immortals would return to fight them again in perfect condition. The future was predetermined. The losses in the battle with the players amounted to 170,000 out of 1.5 million. Prioritizing the survival of their species, they disappeared into the forest, where the flow of mana could not be detected. The quest eventually ended with their retreat. And the most discussed topic in this quest was the results regarding the share. Now it was time to return to the present. Mose was trained by this unknown man. The guy didn't get to see a single hit from him. It doesn't even mean he has a low agility rating or anything like that. The man Kaya invited to be his teacher was named Gant. a retired swordmaster who lived deep in the forest. But, according to Kay, he willingly joined the heavenly ruler. She told him that his best student had turned to the dark side. Then Gant saved Mose from the battlefield filled with enemies, and now the guy thinks he's going to kill him. Gant asked Mose if he thought he really had time to take a break. This was followed by a brutal blow to the stomach. He was too strong and Mose was sent flying backwards. Kia closed her eyes so as not to see it. The guy fell to the floor trying to catch his breath. Mose couldn't understand how the swordmaster could do this with a simple wooden stick. Gant had a level of 260. The swordmaster watched the immortals battle from inside the ship. There he fought, and his whole body was burning. Gant asked if he had fought to stay alive. The next question was whether the immortal was afraid of death. Mose didn't expect that question. The boy replied that he was not afraid. And before he could finish explaining the reason, the master interrupted him, saying that it was because he was immortal. He said that Mose is someone who doesn't value his own life and will never defeat those who do. If the immortal does not value his life, he may die here again. Mose knew Gant was coming, and he had barely survived that time. If he died again, he would have another 21 days to waste. The guy rushed to attack. He failed and simply fell to the floor in front of the master. Gant said he knew what he was just thinking. If he died again this time, he was worried about what would happen when he was gone again. The master had no intention of contributing to his senseless death and threw away the stick. Gant wanted to end it there. Mose shouted at the master to give him another chance and show him the right way. The master noticed that the determination in the immortal's eyes was not so bad. He didn't board this ship just because of Ganir. Situated in the mountain range behind Mount Lankru, this is a place that is difficult to reach due to constant lightning strikes. Of course, it wasn't completely impossible due to the characteristics of this ship, but he was sure it wasn't easy for her to cross all of this. Seeing Kia take this dangerous path to get to Gant made him curious about the source of this child's genuine sadness over the death of the immortal. Gent asked how the gravity of Moses' death related to this child's grief. The first experience of death for immortals serves as the starting point for the creation of creatures known as overconfidence. They begin to gain enormous power, viewing immortality as a privilege, as if they were playing some kind of game. Mosey realized that this old man fully understood the essence of the existence of players. Kia is afraid to see Mose come face to face with death, so you start to take death and even other people's lives lightly, including your own. She's afraid to watch the guy completely distance himself from the life she lives. This moment will inevitably come sooner or later. The master said that eventually Mose would kill her with his own hands. The girl ran up to Gent and thanked him for his time, asking how Mose was doing. The master told her to go and look inside. He is sure that he needs the girl right now. Lying in the middle of the training room was Mose. The girl ran up to him to make sure he was okay. Kia asked what it was like to be hit by a master. The guy just can't seem to find the answer. But it would be rather strange if he did it right away. He doesn't need to hurry so much. The girl put her hand on the guy's hand. It wasn't just Master Gant who knew about it. Kia knew it too. The disconnect between Mose and this world. But despite realizing this discrepancy, Kia does not want to let him go. At this time in Lundabarun, inside the White Tower there was a secret conference room for professors. Inside, people were arguing among themselves. They couldn't prevent one incident from becoming public because there were too many casualties. The men told Hossboy's father, Urindal Darien, that even his son would not be able to shirk responsibility. Urindal replied that they did not need to dwell on the association in the first place, provided that they took proper care of the reversal bowl, which contained everything related to the incident. The reversal cup has the ability to see the past of a particular space in which it was located. Father considered Hossboy a complete idiot, even though he was his son, because how could he not know about the revered Cup of Revolution? If they could manipulate the cup, they could shift the blame onto those damned immortals. That would be an opportunity for them. In any case, Urindal must tell his son about this, so the man must digress. He leaves the task of the cup to the others. One man agreed. Kellyan was involved in this incident, and it wouldn't be that hard to blame the immortals. Another agreed that it was a great idea. They should simultaneously stage the biggest humiliation of their academy. If Urindal's position can be strengthened further, it will be to their advantage too. They need to start before the stupid chairman finds out. The man burst into the hall and asked for forgiveness. They started shouting at him, asking how he dared to barge in, but he had something very urgent to do. While they are talking, the prince is on his way to the White Tower. Everyone in the hall was shocked. Then now was not the time for something like that. They needed to get ready immediately and meet in the hall. The chairman teleported. The man breathed a sigh of relief, as the effect of the shadow potion would wear off in 1 second. He fell to the floor, and when the potion wore off, Kellyanne was underneath the cloak. That was close to the truth.